Rick, are you there? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. We're just about to kick off the meeting, so you'll be ready to go in just a minute. I just wanted to check our audio.
Yeah, no, it works perfectly. Good.
Okay.
Traveling to Georgia.
Okay. Recording in progress.
Ready to call?
Okay, I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just for the record, we have, Catherine is out sick tonight, so I'm standing in, and Kyle is out for planned absence, right? He's out of town. Okay, so declaration of potential conflict of interest, Sue?
No.
Mike?
None.
And I have no conflict of interest to declare. Next up, we have public comment.
We have 3 guests that are attending tonight, but I'm not sure if they're all offering public comments. So Susan was first.
Oh.
You don't have to, but
My name is Susie Buskell, and I swim and I play pickleball. And so I'm here just to start coming to the board meetings and see what's up. And also, we're interested in the pickleball program, and just want to give kudos to James and his team, and the new fire wiring is done. We're just happy with the gym and what we've accomplished there, but we really want to see it grow, and so whatever I can do or anybody else in our pickleball group can do to make this program successful, I want to do it. So we are concerned for our friends that have been priced out, that live in the county but don't live in the city, and so the prices have gone up for them exponentially. And so whatever we can learn or understand about the budget, offering suggestions like maybe a weekly pass. I know we get lots of out-of-town visitors, but they may be put off by a one-day, $13, but maybe a pass would bring in more money to support the program. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, Susie. And are you Seaside resident?
Seaside resident.
Great.
next person is Maggie. Maggie, did you
Oh,
want
I wasn't going to speak.
Okay.
But she says ditto.
But I say ditto.
Yeah.
I didn't sign in.
I know, I think I'll put this out there after you go, so you're welcome to share public comment if you want.
Yeah, well, I'm here because I'm very frustrated with the fact that the gym is not operating. I talked to the city manager.
I'm sorry, your name?
Darryl Johnson.
Darryl? Okay, thanks.
So I talked to the city manager, and he said there is no hang up on their side of what's going on. And for me, half of my workout, and I come to the pool almost every day, but half of my workout is using the gym. And I'm out of district, so I pay $165 a year for that purpose. And I'm very frustrated with the fact that that hasn't been resolved. And I don't know what the hang up is, but I know I have a hotel in Cannon Beach, and if I had a roof that was blowing off of that hotel, if I didn't get that thing fixed within a week, I'd be out of business. So I'm very frustrated with not having any progress there. And my feeling is that the staff seems to be indifferent to my request to get that operating. So I'd like to hear from you what steps you're taking to correct that. Or if you, as been suggested, that if you be in the old elementary, space. So anyways, I'm here to listen to why it's not being, repaired.
So Daryl, just to clarify, during our public comment, the format is such that we take public comment and there isn't like a Q&A back and forth. It's just part of how public meetings go. But we do have some of these items on the agenda today, so I think you might hear some updates that would help you understand, see sort of what we're having to navigate.
So what is the agenda for that?
Here's the agenda for the meeting. The other option that's available to anyone that offers public comment is that the board has asked staff, myself typically, to respond to public comment in writing after the meeting to make sure that there's an open line of communication between staff and the community member. And so after hearing your public comment, I'll be prepared to do that, or will do that as soon as I can, try to address some of those questions that you brought up.
And the board also responds to when we receive emails.
I think that was it on this sheet, unless Carolyn or Chris or Darren or Isaiah would like to offer public comment. I don't see anyone else online except for Rick, our auditor, so he's probably gonna not offer public comment.
Okay, and I see we have some public comment in our packet.
Yeah, there's some correspondence that was included. I don't have a name of the person who submitted the first public comment, just the format that came in. I mean, I have what they gave me, but I'm not sure if Catherine and John are one person with a first name, last name included, or if those are kind of a few people. And then the other comment was from Ron Graham, who offered some correspondence to the board.
I was wondering, we had one email letter that was particularly frustrated and commented on our fees out of district for the swim classes. We did not include that email in the correspondence packet.
Yeah, I don't typically include the emails that you've already gotten and responded to, because I think my job as staff is to bring visibility to the board if there's correspondence that hasn't made it to you. So if there's stuff that comes into staff, or if it comes into the info@Sunset Empire, or comes into my email address, then I will include those in the packet. And if you turn the page, there's a good example of a letter from Jane Johnson
Yes.
that I don't think made it to the board yet, so it was included in the packet.
Okay.
But happy to change that protocol. I think the biggest thing is just making sure the board has visibility to that opportunity for correspondence.
I just wanted to make sure that the public is aware of the other correspondence.
Yeah.
They may be interested in that.
And Skylar, is there a reason that I can't discuss the response to that particular one here?
I think there is an opportunity for you to do that. We have gotten away from that sometimes because occasionally the public comment and the board, as you know, will engage in a back and forth dialogue, and that's really not the purpose of the public meeting. But if the board wants to designate some time right now to respond to public comment, then they should feel that that's appropriate.
Well, I thought what I could do is, I'm not sure Sue or Mike were aware of the response that was given to the person that responded to, that asked about the increased fee, so I thought I could just summarize, because I did provide a response.
Yes, I saw your response.
So in that particular response, what I cited is that when we redesigned the fee structure, it was with great care, and after quite a bit, because that had been on our agenda for a long time as a board, to talk about that. And what we were finding is that the in-district members were actually subsidizing out-of-district members in what we were paying. So for example, and I just use myself as an example because I don't want to use anybody else's information, but I personally pay as an in-district homeowner $471 annually in taxes to maintain the Park and Rec District, which comes out to about $40 a month, plus whatever fees that I'm paying. And so we adjusted the pricing to take into consideration that out-of-district people are not paying that $40 a month or $470 a year, or whatever percentage it was. And that we did, and I do like the idea of having maybe smaller passes. Right now, there is an opportunity for out-of-district people to pay in for the whole year, so that they are, because that would produce equity, so that an out-of-district person is not actually paying less than I am as an in-district person. So we wanted it to be fair. It didn't make sense that people from Cannon Beach or Deerheart should actually be paying less to use park and rec facilities than our in-district residents, because that's what it was equating to. It was actually a better deal. It was a bargain for Cannon Beach and Deerheart people to be
Yes,
using the park and rec facilities.
you are correct.
Now, the other suggestion I made to the person that delivered this email we would be super excited if Cannon Beach and Deerheart wanted to take up joining Park and Rec. I think it would expand services for us all and probably reduce prices across the board for everyone if those two communities wanted to join the district. So maybe that provides some clarification.
That's interesting, yeah. It's interesting, when the district was created, Cannon Beach and Deerheart were included,
Yeah,
and then they chose to drop out.
They
So
opted
it's
out,
like,
yeah.
well, the fees and the taxes were all planned around
them being in,
that contribution, so we've lost that contribution.
right, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, we usually don't do back and
Oh.
forth, but if it's on this topic,
It is.
yeah.
Is there a way for your organization to engage with those two communities?
We have in the past, and I think that's something that we're planning to try to engage again to do. And citizens from those communities could certainly advocate to their city councilors or their mayor. Yeah,
Great,
we'd love to have them in. I think it would expand sort of things for everybody, yeah.
great, thank you.
So I'm wondering, there were two concerns expressed, and the other is the gym. And, you know, do you want to give an update on what's going on?
Well, I think some of that is covered under our projects. That's the item number 11 on our deal, that where we're covering what some of the barriers are to us getting into the facility.
Well, a matter of, you know, reusing the gym, the small gym behind the pool.
Yeah, in regards to that, we're really at the, I can appreciate the perspective, and to be candid, I think it's not pleasing to any of the staff or probably to the board that it's taken this long to get to where we're at, which is really, we're only through demolition of the existing issue that we discovered in the fitness room. We're kind of at the mercy of two things: our insurance provider, who's covering a bulk of the expense for the repair, and also the contractor that the insurance provider is asking us to work through, and we have to go through a process with them. The existing drywall and insulation had to be removed, and that was a process, and we're on their schedule, I believe, for coming weeks, but yeah, we thought we had a good solution to pivot and move fitness services to the old middle school, SRC, and as we're all aware, we're still, I guess, trying to figure out if that's a good solution to this problem for right now.
But I think, to the response I heard, the city, which is blocking us, is commented to be on board, and that's not the case. You know,
Yeah.
We haven't been provided an occupancy to be
Yeah.
able to
Right.
use it to move gym facilities over to
Right.
the
so
SRC. Yeah.
it's not, I mean, we're not preventing that.
Yeah, I think we're still trying. I think there's still some hope that we could negotiate, that we can use the SRC for other things, but there's a process. You have to go through the planning and get occupancy
Right.
approved, and at this point, we're denied.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the challenge.
Do we know the reasons why we're denied?
Yeah, I mean, that's item 11 coming up when we're talking about, yeah, just
Gotcha,
the
the
whole.
occupancy.
Okay, so let's see, moving on, I think our next item then is 6, recognition of our Employee of the Month. And so this month, I'm happy to recognize Jay Brown. Is Jay here? He's not here. Okay, I'll read this then. Jay is an incredible asset to the aquatics department, consistently demonstrating a positive attitude and a strong work ethic. Always with a smiling face, he is dedicated to maintaining a clean and welcoming environment and is always willing to help out in any way possible. His excellent customer service skills make a significant impact, ensuring that every interaction is a positive one. We truly appreciate Jay's hard work and dedication and are grateful to have him as part of our team. And then do you want to have?
Yes, we'll get Catherine
To sign that
Jay
one?
was awarded a little gift certificate from Home Depot, so we're really grateful to have Jay. In addition to all those things that we shared, Jay is our opening shift at the pool, which is an early morning. I mean, we open the pool at 5:45, and at least for this month, that's been a pretty cold, icy experience. So appreciate our morning staff and Jay for being able, and he's on a first name basis with those early morning patrons, and it's a great service that he's providing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I told him this morning that he should show up.
Yeah, I invited him.
He said, "They're gonna recognize me?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yes." And so he's not here.
Okay, next up we have the presentation of the 2023-24 audit with Kernan Thompson.
Okay, Rick, how you doing? Can you hear us still?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. We'll
Okay.
we'll give you some time here. You have 3 of the board in person, and then Kyle Gorman has joined via Zoom, and you also have Chris McAllister. He's out of the shot, I think, but he's over there. So we'll turn some time over to you, and you can share what you need to share or what you'd like to say, and then the board can ask questions if they have of Rick.
Okay, so if I could share my screen, I can pull up the auditor's report. Is that okay?
Yeah, let me give you that permission. Okay, should work for you now.
Work, yeah, right there. Okay, share. All right, can you see the audit report here as I'm scrolling around?
We
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Oh, very good, okay. Thank you again for keeping us as your auditors. I'm Rick Prue with accounting firm of Kernan Thompson in Portland, Oregon. And I think this is the 4th or 5th year that we've been engaged to audit the financial statements for the district. We enjoy working with Skylar and Chris and Darren and their crew, and just as a whole, the audit went very well. There were a couple of delays on my part, but we were still able to get the audit completed and filed with the state before the December 31st deadline, so I appreciate everyone's help on that. So on the screen, you'll see this is the independent auditor's report. I'll just scroll down to the report card page, independent auditor's report. So what this says is that we've audited these accompanying financial statements as of and for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024. And in our opinion, these statements present fairly the respective financial position and governmental activities of the funds of the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District as of and for their fiscal year end, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the United States. So basically, that's the report card. That's the opinion. It's considered a clean opinion. It means that the financial numbers included in this report are accurate. They're in the right period. They're presented accordingly in accordance with accounting principles for governmental entities. We've tested those numbers and they're accurate and complete. The rest of the report talks about the basis for this opinion, that we have to follow what's called general accepted auditing standards, and that management is responsible for the content of these financial statements. So the numbers and the disclosures here in our managements, we assist with putting it together, of course, but our main focus is to audit and test transactions and disclosures and make sure that the presentation is complete and accurate. So, and this is wonderful reading if you want to go through it, but it basically describes the procedures and all the responsibilities that I've just summarized for you. And then on page 3 there, you see my signature as signing off for this firm. So again, it's a clean opinion, a good report card. what follows next is, it's kind of a summary of the financial statements called the management's discussion and analysis, and it kind of highlights things like, you know, the increases or decreases in assets and things of that nature. I just wanted to just go to this page here, just kind of a snapshot of the financial condition of the district as of the end of the year and compared to the year before, and it's highly summarized, but it gives you, the reader, an idea of the assets and liabilities and what we call the net assets or the equity. And so as you can see, it's pretty consistent between the 2 years, and the ending net position is, you know, a little, almost just under 2.6 million. There was a slight decrease for the year, and I'll get to that. The next page shows kind of where the, you know, summary of the revenues and expenditures. A lot of your revenues come, of course, from charges for services, well, you get some grants, but there's the biggest chunk also comes from property taxes that are levied by the district, and they're collected by the county for the district. And then the expenses kind of broken out by your different departments, administration, the aquatic program, recreation, the Sunset Recreation Center, and all those sort of things. And so the revenues for the year, they increased quite a bit from and with that, we're coming out of the COVID era. There are things to catch up on, so there's expenses are probably still ahead of some of the revenues, but as you'll see, the change in net position of about $6,600. Some of it's not something really to be alarmed at. There's depreciation expense also factored in here, which is basically an allocation of the cost of capital, and so this depreciation isn't something you write a check for. So the net position is it's still in a good, strong position, and the results are good for the end of the year. What follows next are some other highlights, like what makes up your capital assets. It's basically your buildings, pool, equipment, and there's some construction in progress that sounds like you were talking about earlier. And then you do have some debt on primarily the purchase of the Sunset Recreation Center, and it's amortizing and decreasing according to schedule. The basic financial statements that follow are a little bit more, provide a little bit more information here, showing the assets and liabilities, and again, the net position. Broken out, you can see that your two main assets are your cash and cash equivalents, and then, of course, what you have invested in depreciable assets. Your main liability, again, is the debt, which says due in more than 1 year, within 1 year. That's primarily the debt on that purchase, and it's, again, you're able to make your cash flowing is just fine from that standpoint to make those payments and operate. This is the statement of activities, giving an idea of what the government spends on these different areas, broken down kind of in an unusual way, but this is in there, basically what's required for government presentation. What follows this is then, it's kind of a different look at just what we call the governmental financial statement. So this does not include, you'll see it doesn't include capital assets and it doesn't include debt. It kind of focuses on things that are more current that happen during the year or as of the end of the year. And this also shows that the district's financial statements include that of the foundation. So there's two basically operating units rolled up into this. And then, I went backwards. And then this is just a reconciliation between the two, and then this is the statement of revenues, expenditures, changes in fund balance. So kind of like a more traditional income statement, if you will. It shows the revenues at the top. Again, the primary sources, the taxes, and then your charges for services, and then your expenditures by all these different departments, coming down to what your changes are. Now, the change in fund balance is different than the change in your total assets and liabilities, because of this statement recognizes things that normally affect the balance sheet, like capital expenditures are included in here, where on the regular balance sheet they're capitalized as an asset. Your payments on the debt, the principal payment reduces the liability, but in this statement it's shown as an expenditure. So those differences are kind of are reconciled here, going from that change in fund balance down to what the real change in operating activities is for the year. The reason governments do this is because there's two focuses: your governmental basis and budgetary, as well as then, okay, the government as a whole. And that's a whole, but it's in conformity and it's properly reported. The next pages, there's several pages of what we call the notes to the financial statements that describe the entity and its significant accounting policies. There really haven't been any changes in the way these notes are described over the last few years. So I'll just kind of, it talks about the focus and basis of accounting, the differences between what we call the government-wide, government as a whole, and then the fund basis is more described in here. And different accounting things that you see on those financial statements. What I wanted to just kind of come down to is show it does give a breakdown of what makes up your cash equivalents, what's in the bank, and what's on deposit with the Oregon Local Government Investment Pool, the LGIP. And that account's necessary because that's where when the county collects property taxes for you, it's deposited into that account held at the state. And it does have some interest earnings on it. And the foundation has some of its own investments, and this shows the makeup of what those investments are, some exchange traded funds and mutual funds, and then kind of a difference with its, it has a beneficial interest also in the Oregon Community Foundation, about just under $40,000. This shows what we call the capital asset activity. So basically the depreciable assets, if you will, the buildings, equipment, and construction in progress, the beginning increases, decreases in ending balance, and also how it's depreciated. So that's just kind of a snapshot of how that's changed during the year. No EEOC long-term liabilities, basically the debt you have, your full faith and credit bond for the purchase of that Sunset Recreation Center. Beginning balance, there were no new borrowings, it was reduced by your principal payments, and it shows what's due within 1 year. The next page gives you an idea of going out in the future, what the principal requirements are going forward. And the last thing I need to kind of tell you, the last note here is there's that, the government-wide basis, but there's also the budgetary basis. There was expenses in excess of the budget for the year. So the budget's kind of an estimate of what you think you're going to expend, and it's supposed to be a guideline. And there was a little bit extra spending in the general fund and the Sunset Recreation Center fund. And more detail of that follows the statements, what we call it's a schedule of budget to actual, and here it shows what the original budget was, the final budget, the actual expenditures, and what the variances were. And that's broken down by fund, and the funds are kind of all rolled up into the entity itself. So there's a general fund, and a capital improvement fund, a Broadway Field fund, and the Sunset Recreation Center fund. And then this is a schedule of your property taxes that have been levied and then collected, and then by year, what property taxes are yet to be collected by the property owners. The last part of the report here is what we call Oregon has a set of compliance standards they require for governments to follow, and so as auditors were required to test certain things like your deposit of public funds, are you in bank accounts that are approved by the state, and you have that, and you're also in their local investment pool. Is your debt within a debt limitation, and and there isn't one definitely or specifically for the district, and your debt is not it's not unusual, and it's certainly what would be expected, and it's in compliance. You're paying the debt on time. You do your budget and you adopt it in time, and so you're in compliance from that standpoint. The the district is maintaining its fidelity insurance. It monitors programs funded from outside sources, so any grants that you get, if there's requirements of those grants, we look at that, and we found those in compliance. your procurement, if things are required to be put out to bid, or you can, get the service or product on a state-approved list, that's being done appropriately as well. So the results of this report is we found you to be in compliance with what's called Oregon minimum standards, and that's what this report says. The other part of the report is there's a separate letter to you, the board, as those in charge of governance. We talk about that we've audited the financial statements. If there's any significant findings, we would report them here. And I'm happy to report, basically, this letter says that the audit went very well. There were no new accounting pronouncements that we had to implement. The disclosures in the financial statements are consistent. We had no difficulties in dealing with management. We had there were no misstatements or errors in the books. We do provide some accounting assistance as far as getting the books to accumulate into the financial statements, but management accepts all responsibility for that. We had no disagreement with management as far as professional standards or accounting policies or presentation, and they provided us what we call a management representation letter. So basically the gist of this report is to report back to you that the audit went well. So I don't know if I've gone over my time, but I wanted to make sure I kind of covered the report for you. And Skylar and Chris, they'll consult with me throughout the year if they have questions. As I said before, our firm doesn't charge for phone calls. We don't want our clients to be afraid to ask us a question. So if you have, concerns or a question, you can contact me directly, and I'm happy to answer that. Any questions?
Hi, Rick. This is Kyle.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can you flip back to the page where you show the investments made by the foundation?
Yes. The disclosure on the investments?
Yes. I may have this wrong, but I understood that the foundation was really an offshoot of the Park District. Now, do you do audit of the foundation as well?
Well, we audit basically these things that are in the foundation. So we verify their cash and confirm the investments. The foundation is technically on a calendar fiscal year, so we have to look at that. We have to take that period for the foundation that fits the district's fiscal year from July to June. And yeah, so it's included in our audit procedures. The reason that the foundation is included is because it's basically overseen by the board. It's what we call, it meets the requirements for government as a component unit. It's created for the district to raise funds for the district, and so it's kind of like you say, it's an offshoot, but it's in technical terms is considered a component unit.
Okay, component unit. Sorry, I didn't know the proper language.
No, that's fine.
So the district is prohibited by statute from investing in certain types of investments, including mutual funds and, I don't know, Bitcoin. And, we're really limited to the LGIP and bonds and treasury bills and strips and a few other things like that. So how is it that the foundation, as one of our component organizations, can invest in the things that we're legally prohibited from investing in?
I can't give you a legal opinion on that, but I think there are some, that Oregon does allow for certain things in mutual funds and things of that nature. But I would have to get back to you on that and check that out. But
okay, there's no rush. It's just a question on my part.
Okay, no, that's a very good question. I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, we're pleased to have Kern and Thompson. I think
Thank
we
you.
feel like
Yeah.
we're getting great service from y'all, and it's great to have such a clean audit.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to doing it again next year. So.
It's a nice piece of work, Rick.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, keep up the good work, everybody, and thank you again, Skylar and Chris. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next up on our agenda is approval of board meeting minutes, the November 26th minutes that are in our packet. Get a chance to review. Does anybody want to make a motion or have any changes?
I move that we accept the board minutes, but I have to find it. So I move that we accept the board minutes from November 26th, 2024.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Thanks, Val. Aye. Motion passed to approve, to accept the minutes. Next up, we're moving along. We have a review of our financials for November and December of 2024 in our packet. And I think, are we looking at November, Skylar? Did we not approve those last time?
So you were approved October's,
Okay,
but we don't, finalize November's until like the first week or two of December.
got it.
So and since we didn't have a board meeting in December,
That's why, okay.
you have November and December in front of you.
Very good. Anything that you have to note for us on this, other than what we see?
No, things are fairly in line with where we expect them to be. There's some, areas where we're kind of keeping a close eye on. But tax revenue is, for the most part, all arrived in, October, November. Yeah, keeping an eye on some of our expense lines to make sure that we're kind of on schedule or below schedule. A few checks that maybe, we can provide more information on that aren't on our vendor list because they were atypical, but if the board has questions, either myself or Chris should be able to answer them. And I have one additional document that I did not, remember to circulate in the board packet, but it's a letter from Clatsop County, regarding, some ongoing litigation with Wanamill. And, you can take a look at that, but you'll see that, it's going to affect our tax roll a little bit, with, this, situation with WANA. So this is actually a similar thing that happened a few years ago, and they ended up settling, and the district, along with every other taxing entity in the county, was on the hook for basically repaying some of the tax revenue that we had received. And we did that, I want to say it was probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years maybe. It was a big settlement, I think. So that has potential to happen again. It hasn't necessarily progressed to that point, but it looks like it's certainly possible with this letter. So you'll see on page 2 and 3, you'll see some of those potential reparations that this settlement would leave the district without some of our tax revenue that we've already received.
And so do we know the timeline for a decision upon that?
From what I understand, it's fairly early in the process, but I would say probably in the next 3 to 6 months from what I heard so far from the county.
And so have we done the math? Do we know what our exposure would be?
Yeah, it's these amounts. So if you if you look down under Sunset Empire Park and Recreation Center,
Oh, I
that's
see.
what we're noticed by. Then yeah, on page 1, you'll see the amount that we'd be liable for would be $8,952.98, and on the second page, the amount is more. It's $32,425.27.
And that 8,000 is gonna be coming back though,
Yeah.
next month. So if you look on December, on the, revenue and expense, to the very bottom, under Wanamill settlement, it'll show that it's 41. We they let us know late that they pulled an additional amount that they're gonna be putting back. They were trying to figure it out, and for some reason they did it in 2 different sections. So it'll be on that page, it is, oh,
If you go to the revenue and expense report for December,
Yeah,
yeah, it's on there.
you'll see it accounted for.
So the expense will end up being, it should end up being 32,425. That should be reflected on, next month.
as an expense?
Yeah, it'll go down, back down to that. That 41 includes that other payment that they had taken, but then they ended up taking the entire amount out again, and so then they had to reverse what they had done. So they had made a mistake, had to correct it. Yeah. Fun process.
And I don't recall seeing WANA as revenue that we projected in our budget.
It wasn't.
It isn't,
So this
okay,
is,
so-
this is basically the amount of money that they wouldn't have given us the year before in tax. They're saying, well, we overpaid you because, the whole county, because we overvaluated them. So now they're saying, well, now we need to take back that money because we have to give it back to WANA. So it's the general, tax, yeah.
And that's expected to come in
Or,
and show up on the January statement.
no, so it was on the December one. So it's at the bottom of, the December, info, it'll be under the WANA mill settlement. That shows that expense that came out of the tax.
So I think maybe a good question, Sue, you were asking, or when does when do the two amounts get do they credit
Oh, yeah, it'll be for,
in January? Okay, so that'd be the
Yeah.
difference between 32,425 and 41,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't really have any, there's no action needed by the board, right?
There's no,
Just the
we just,
information.
yeah, want to ensure that the board knew about it, and since it's on the report, we want to provide the letter for understanding. I think it also shows, a lot of, residents probably don't have awareness to the way that the mechanisms that are in place for the district to receive our tax revenue, and how much we rely on the county and on the assessment, and, on those mechanisms working properly, and, I'm happy that it works really well, like 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
This is a situation where, for whatever reason, it didn't work as designed, but, they caught it, and I think this will probably save all of those taxing agencies money in the long run if they are able to settle and get this figured out with WANA before it goes too far.
Yep. Any questions?
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
I have a question, Celeste.
Yep. Go ahead, Kyle.
So, two questions. First, Skylar, would you mind, just emailing that,
Yes.
letter to me? And second, I'm still on the financial report. The bank drafts, we've got about 40 grand in bank drafts or so that haven't gone through yet. So, I'm just wondering, have those been booked into the system so they are accounted for in our expense report? Or will those be accounted for when the drafts actually go through?
That's a great question. Better question for Chris. Chris, do you get
Which
that?
one? So these are just, sorry, Kyle, I guess I'm not sure what you were.
Are you talking about under the report, like bank code, payroll,
Please look at
summary?
this.
I'm looking at, page 4 of 4,
Yeah.
and there's bank drafts, and I think they're mostly taxes, but there's bank drafts totaling about 40 grand. So we sent the checks, but they haven't been cashed yet. And I'm just wondering, when I look at the expense report, has that 40,000 already been booked into the expense report, or will that be booked next month?
That's correct. Yeah, no, yeah, no, those, are already out. Yeah, if you look at shows payment, these show anything that had been made already up till that date, so they've already been reflected on the paper, on the, report that you have.
Okay, that's all I need to know,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
That sounds right, for the accrual method,
yeah.
the county, it was, once you write the check,
Yep.
So do we have somebody that wants to make a motion?
on the financial report,
I'll move, we approve the financial reports.
Can we,
for November and
can
December.
we approve them both, Skylar, or do we do?
Typically, we've
individually?
approved them separately.
Would you like to, amend your motion, Kyle, to approve the November first, so that we can vote on that one first, and then we'll do December?
Yes, November financial report.
Not second.
Great, all those in favor? Sue?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Kyle, you're an aye? Yes?
I move the December financial report. Yes, I was not.
You have a second for December.
I'll second that.
That's Mike, second, Sue? Any votes? Mike?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Both are accepted. Thank you. All right, moving us along, our next is staff presentation from Darren.
Hey,
Hi, Darren.
long time no see. Try to make this not too terribly long. I know we've got a lot on the agenda tonight, but just wanted to give you guys a brief update of how things have been going this year so far, since we're about a full year into my transition to the Director of Development versus the Director of Operations. And where did we go? Technical difficulties, one of the first. Here we go. Sorry, Dan. No, it's all right.
I went off and I just forgot how to do this question.
And action. Here we go. All right, great. So, the annual report, a little bit, kind of goofy here. Screen. Thought we got rid of all the animations, but, click it on twice, 3 times a day. All right. A little bit about me. I'm a husband to Mrs. Gooch, aka Jennifer Gooch. A wonderful picture of us at Saxo Forman outside of Cusco in Peru. Wonderful trip we did a number of years ago. I'm also father to 3 wonderful children you can see up here. We have Marshall, Andrew, and Mara all sitting at Deer Camp. My son Andrew is an IA and heads up the credit recovery class up at Seaside High School. My youngest is Marshall. He was spent about 8 years in the Air Force. He is now back lifeguarding over here at the pool and doing some pinch hitting for the PRS department. And then my daughter Mara is stationed in Lincoln City with her husband. She actually works for the Lincoln City Police Department as their evidence technician. So she's living her lifelong dream of being involved in CSI. She has a son, Owen, who's my little guy. Owen got to spend 5 days with me salmon fishing back in September. So you can see we did actually catch 1 fish, and he's chomping on a piece of pepperoni, hanging out in the boat with Grandpa. So Bigfoot is often mistaken for Sasquatch, and Yeti never complains. Okay. Threw that in for Skylar's benefit. So I have actually 3 areas of responsibility as Director of Development. One of my primary areas of responsibility is grant writing. I'm also overseeing the technology department, and then as of August, I'm also providing some oversight of our maintenance department. So this past year, in grant writing, I wrote 22 grants requests during 2024. Worth a total of about $361,650. I was successful in receiving 16 of the 22 grant requests, which, by the way, is a 73% success rate, so felt really good about that. But those are really only valued at $92,802. Because about 6 of the unsuccessful, grant, applications, had, kind of a value of about $215,000, so, which is really kind of been my experience with some of those really, really big grants. One of them was, one we wrote to Merkley and Wyden's office. It was Senate appropriations, and it was written at a time they weren't really even sure how much money they were going to get for the appropriations, or if they were going to get any appropriations at all. So, I considered it to be a little bit of a longer shot, although I did get some really, really good feedback, from Merkley and Wyden's office. One of their guys called me, we had a really, great discussion. He gave me some really great pointers for the next time around too, so that was really, really helpful. Of the, grant requests that we did receive, I just put kind of a small handful up here. We did receive $10,000 from the Autzen Foundation for youth programs. We also received a grant through the Oregon Farmers Market Association through their Climate Resiliency Grant Program. We did receive $10,000 for the Seaside Farmers Market. We did receive a lot of the equipment that is part of that grant today. We had some battery backup units that we're going to be able to provide to help some of our vendors out in case of power outages. Some heavier duty leg weights for tents, things of that sort. So that was really our focus on the Climate Resiliency Grant. Classic Childcare and Expansion Grant, we did receive a grant for $17,000 for youth programs. Farmers Market Fund, that was early on in the year. We got $4,200 for Seaside Farmers Market. Our goal was to reach out to our local Hispanic community to be able to let them know that we had the Double Up Food Bucks program, so really kind of getting that information out there. So $4,200 was for a lot of marketing, and then we were also able to hire and keep a person out at the farmers market that was a native Spanish speaker. So local city grants, so annually I go to City of Seaside, City of Deerheart, and City of Cannon Beach. I try to get money into our foundation for our scholarship program. So this year we were successful in securing $10,952 for scholarships. So it was, that was great. I think our target for scholarships is about $15,000. So that brought us up there really, really close. SDAO internship, we did hire a summer intern, helped us out in our marketing area, and was also out at the farmers market during the summertime. SDAO Safety and Security, that is one of the more recent grants that we received. It's $2,500 matching grant for a door lock project that we're doing at the SRC. We are adding to a number of the main entry points a key card locking system. So that was going to pay for half of that project. So that was really, really great. Move to the next slide. And I did spend a good portion of the year working with our foundation board. Our big push was to develop a new scholarship fundraiser. As everybody knows, the Ship and Saber had its final voyage a couple of years ago. So we needed to find a new way to help raise funds for the scholarship program. So we came up with the Hood to Coast parking and showers. So we did that on Saturday, August 24th. It was 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. It was a long, long day. I was here for a very good portion of that. Ultimately, after all of our other expenses, we did raise $5,087.40. So that brought us up to our target with the scholarship program of $15,000. So another kind of notable point of my past year, I attended a grant training. I actually was really inspired by our conversation, Celeste, and I saw this opportunity come through back in November. It was a AI 201, Advanced Strategies for Grant Professionals. So I attended that training. It was really amazing. I have some really good information in case you want a copy of it.
Yeah.
It centers around how to use AI to help increase your workflow with grant writing, about using and creating custom GPTs. So it was a lot more than I can cover here right now. but it was a really wonderful, and kind of inspiring, training that I was able to attend, so it was fantastic. Looking ahead for 2025, I do plan to submit many of the same annual local and community grants as I did last year, in addition to seeking out new opportunities for funding for the SRC repairs and improvements at the pool. And I think, kind of that conversation that has been occurring more recently around the SRC, I think that's helped create a lot more focus around those. Now we're starting to get numbers, now we're starting to get timelines and more specifics. So it's amazing to see that. So we can jump forward. Looking at our technology department, which literally I can not take any credit for any of this. I actually have a really amazing network admin who has really taken on the reins and taken the lead on all of these projects. But this past year, we did develop internal databases for tracking purchases, certifications, building usage, work orders, and budgeting. And more recently, Isaiah has added a few more components and elements to that database. So he's an absolute database pro, and this has helped us get all of that information. We have like 500 spreadsheets spread all over our root drive, and really concentrate it now down into a database, which is absolutely amazing. I know it's made Miss Elizabeth's job a lot easier when she goes to look at our purchases and do our credit card payments, that kind of thing. I know she had some challenges with the spreadsheet on that, and it's all right there now. Just click, print, and you're good to go. Isaiah also this year added a Ubiquity Unified Gateway device to our network to kind of help enhance our security. Kind of allows us to see websites that are being visited, to manage traffic on our network, both through our desktop workstations and through our Wi-Fi. So it kind of unifies all of our network stuff down into one device. It takes the place of a router, and it has enhanced security features both inside and on the public-facing side, which is amazing. Also, we did install a Ubiquity keycard key block at the Hearst Family Training Facility. That was kind of our first opportunity to see and test how that system was going to work before we jumped into it with both feet for the SRC. That was just part of that safety and security grant piece. And I have to say, it's absolutely a wonderful device. Could work with our district badge key cards, we can assign people key fobs, it does work with PIN numbers, and if all else fails, somebody gets locked out, all they have to do is slide it up, and it's like a ring piece. So it rings on somebody's phone, usually Isaiah's, probably at 2 a.m. when a homeless person's staring into it. You have the opportunity to remotely unlock that for someone as well. So for 2025, preparing a project to install a series of Ubiquity keycard locks at the SRC as part of the SDO Safety and Security Grant Project. I did mention that a couple of times now. Also installing a Wi-Fi, AV, and cameras in the softball, baseball, and football crow's nest at Broadway Field. That is something that we committed to as part of the Broadway Field project. And so Isaiah and I have scheduled time this week, 3 days this week, to go out there and get those projects completed ahead of the baseball and softball season. So. And looking at maintenance, this past year, we were able to hire a maintenance technician, Tom Erickson. Tom joined our team back in late November. We also added a custodial leader at the SRC. We did that back in the beginning of September. And so now we have Brandon Soria over there 3/4 time, helping us keep that facility clean. Brandon also jumps over and does some light work over at the pool and here at the Bob Chisholm Community Center. So Brandon, a lot of different places throughout the day. During the shutdown, we did take the sand filters apart in the learner pool and clean all the sand out of those, check all the lines, check all the parts, put brand new seals on those. That hadn't been done for about 5 years, so it was very much time to take care of those and maintain them. We also stripped down all of the boilers while all of those were off. They had the chance to clean all of the little fins and everything in there so we can keep those boilers operational and working for the next foreseeable future. We did repair some boilers at the SRC as we wrapped up summer and started into fall and cooler weather. There were a couple boilers that didn't want to kick on, so we spent a little bit of time working on those, added a few additional parts. I think we had to add a new blower motor to the one that services the east side of the building, but I'm happy to say that everything is working over there brilliantly. We did also add some digital thermometers with individual room sensors. What we were finding is we couldn't depend on the pneumatic system that runs. Those old pneumatic thermostats were leaky, and they weren't balancing the temperature, so we added some digital thermostats with individual room sensors in place of those. Also very happy to report that a lot of our classrooms are now 68 degrees perfectly across the board, so it really helped us balance the temperature for our kids and our folks that are teaching in those rooms. Looking ahead for 2025, we're working on developing a priority list of projects and costs for every area of the district. That's something that Courtney and I are sitting down to do. We're trying to get a roadmap set for the projects that have the most need right now, and trying to assign different projects to fiscal years out through the future. So we're trying to get a sense of really what it's going to cost out into the future. Also helps me in the grant writing section in a really, really big way, because I feel like I have a deeper bit of knowledge when it comes to really understanding those projects in more detail and what the actual needs are. We will also continue to tackle the short-term fixes while we move toward our long-term solutions to those issues. So, jumping ahead. Well, I always like to talk a little bit about my volunteerism in the community. Still the board president for the South County Community Food Bank. This is year number 8 for my presidency there. 9 years that I've been with the South County Community Food Bank Board. Also, still a current Kiwanian. Been a Kiwanian since 2009. And right now I'm the SMS Builders Club, the Seaside Middle School Builders Club advisor. We have 40 kids in our Seaside Middle School Builders Club, so fantastic turnout for those kids for that. So, and that's it. Questions from you? Yes,
Yes, can you just explain what actually the scholarship money goes toward?
Yeah, it helps support those folks who fall below at or below the poverty level. We use the USDA guidelines for free and reduced meals to help qualify people for that program. People are interested in the scholarship, fill out that piece of paperwork, depending on where they fall in those guidelines. So those that fall in the guidelines for reduced meals generally qualify for a 25% discount on their user fees. Those folks that fall under the free guidelines generally qualify for a 50% scholarship discount. And we assign those scholarships on a quarterly basis, and they're also required to do several hours of volunteerism. So those are some of the folks we reach out to help with special events.
Is that more than just, swim lessons?
Oh, more than just swim lessons. It's practically every program throughout the district is eligible for the scholarship program. So it includes passes, but not annual passes. We could go up to a 3-month pass with scholarship.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you,
I'm glad
Darren.
you're on our team, Darren.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it. Safe
You
travels to
bet.
you.
Wish you better luck with your grant writing.
What, 70%?
I know it.
Wow, okay.
92,000 is not bad.
The average grant writer has a 20% success rate.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw that.
Wow.
I would just add, I think, hopefully it's on the record and stated, unless something changes, but Darren's a great resource to the district, and there's very few people, I think, in our field or that I've ever met professionally that could do development, that could do IT, that could do some maintenance supervision, and I throw challenges at him continually, including in August when our previous director of facilities and maintenance left, and we knew that we needed some supervision, and Darren was, to say that he jumped in with both feet is an understatement, so appreciate that, and he's really good at stabilizing things and kind of building things up, and then we can transition him just doing something else, so maybe he'll, I don't know, next month you might see him teaching a fitness class, or running special events, or we'll see what the next thing is in store. But just appreciate his flexibility and knowledge of the district. It's really priceless to have him.
Thanks, Darren.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, I think Chris from Quash Group is going to join us, but if he's not, we can proceed. Oh, there he is. Hey, Chris. Right on schedule. Yeah, so you're in the old business now, and we just have an opportunity to discuss the strategic plan. I heard some discussion before the meeting about the strategic plan, but we received it, I think, about maybe 10 days ago-ish. Chris, that sounds right to me, and from what I have seen, and I haven't done a comparison of previous draft to this draft, I think a lot of the feedback that we asked for has been incorporated. Graphics have been touched up, pictures look, for the most part, a lot better. I think it's an opportunity now for the board to decide if they want to adopt the plan as presented. Brandon isn't able to be here tonight, he's on some paid time off. Or the board could wait and have this as a discussion at a future meeting, if they so choose.
I was a little bit curious about the way some of the data was arranged. It seemed like, you know, they were looking at unincorporated areas of Deerheart and Cannon Beach, yet they don't really identify what community those people are actually in on some of the data. Seems like Arch Cape is in the district, and they are not Cannon Beach, but they were not mentioned too much in the data gathering. So I'm just curious about whether or not that's sufficient enough.
Sure. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with this being an actionable strategic plan. And things like, you know, the parts that, I mean, the parts that are the strategic plan to me fall on page 7 and then are repeated on page 71.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their recommendations and their bullet points. And they feel pretty generic, and don't seem to align with what we heard from the public. I'm not quite sure. I'm having difficulty seeing where what the public told us is incorporated into any kind of strategy. So I'm finding that disappointing, and I think this leaves us as a board with a lot of work to do to figure out. I mean, the data's in here, it's fine, I find the analysis lacking.
I think this is improved, but it has a ways to go. And there's redundancy. There is, I mean, I appreciate all the pictures that are local, and I did wonder, there's a Bob Chisholm community center picture, and I mean, you know, this is small compared to everything else, but I wondered if we wanted that in that position versus Sunset Empire. And right now, yeah, it's on page 62 for the conclusion and recap, and that's the Bob Chisholm, which we don't own. But I mean, one of the basic things that I want is our name. You know, Sunset Empire Park and Rec, district, there were 4 representations of how that's explained. One with a plus sign, one with the word and one with the standard little ampersand or whatever that thing is called. And then the other was what was defined in the, you know, first page of the executive summary was that it was gonna be SEPRD. So I don't understand why we have 4 different ways to identify what our building is, what this district is called. And I think there needs to be one. I wanna know why we do not have a picture of the census tracts at all. You know, you're referring to census tract 9507, 9511, and 9509. That's not in this document, at least that I can find. I still had some minor issues with definitions. You know, SFA isn't defined for me until you get into, you know, like 10 pages further. And I wrote, oh, no, it was defined on page 7, but it shows up on page 2. There was, I wondered why beach wheelchairs wasn't included in this anywhere. And I know there's a picture of, I think it's Jay Barber standing in front of the wheelchair, the beach wheelchair. And I think when we talk about, we have a deficiency of offering handicap and, you know, why isn't beach wheelchair even mentioned? And then, I mean, there were things, you know, I am a servant to the people. And the thing I look at with this is too heavy for the public. And I don't want to release it to them. I mean, I understand. I mean, I have a master's level in my field. I read journal articles, and I can get through that. This was difficult. And I guess I'm just concerned if, you know, I know we sent it back to you and it was redone, and my daughter has a comment, you know, she's somebody who at one point worked for the Sunset Pool. When you write something, it's not done until you've revised it at least 5 or 6 or 7 times. And so I don't want 7 drafts before us, but I think you need to find somebody to evaluate this, because to me, it's heavy, which means people won't get through it, and then when they don't get through it, do they wonder if we're hiding something because it's too hard to navigate? And of course, we're not hiding anything, but I really do think that this could be better. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's much improved from the last one.
I had a question about I know they mentioned in there that they discussed things that we did not own, but we managed, and maybe the community center falls in there, but I noticed that with the Broadway Field, the first training facility was listed as something that we manage. And I only think, as far as I know, when we created a deal to enable that the only thing that we manage is cleaning the restrooms. Is there a change to that, or is it a bigger picture now?
Yeah, I would say it's fair to say that we manage the facility. Now, we don't manage the school district's use of the facility. They manage that themselves according to the schedule, but for the new intergovernmental agreement, the Park and Rec District has some responsibility to manage the non-school district users and to make sure that the concession stand space and restroom space is maintained. And we also maintain a portion of the HFTF for maintenance storage. So yeah, we have a vested interest in making sure that that space is well managed for the best use of the community.
So Seaside Schools and the Seaside kids are tied, joined at the hip on that facility. But yet maybe there should be parentheses and to show all three partners managing that
Sure.
in one way or another. It's just generally, some general feedback.
Okay.
I did think it was much improved, though, the way the readability and the, the way it was organized.
Okay.
I don't have a page 71 in my master.
Yeah, I
plan.
didn't. Mine doesn't have pages numbered.
Oh, well, I'm looking at a PDF file, so,
It's in the supplemental.
Well, it seems
Because we
that,
walked into the-
based on the three of you, and maybe Kyle has feedback that differs, but it seems like there's need for more, revisions and maybe even incorporating some more feedback. I guess if that's the route that the board wants to go, then I would encourage the board to maybe choose a plan to deliver that feedback, not to Chris, he didn't write it, but to Brandon and to, SFA and SEA, and how the board wants to do that. We can do the same process that we did last time. We could, do a different process. The board could, choose somebody from the board to provide some of that feedback, and maybe we could meet, with those consultants that we've hired. We can leave this kind of open for review and draft for another period of time. I know it's been a couple of weeks since you had it, but to be honest, it's been a very busy couple of weeks for the district, and I've put a lot on your plate to review and, make decisions on, so.
so,
Yeah.
can I amend, page 4 and page 68 are the two where they're like repeats of
Page
each
4 and
other.
68.
Yeah, page 4 and 68, and I
Page
get,
68.
and it's hard for me to follow why, and there's some pieces in here, like, it is as if there's not, that the author, I don't, there probably are several authors in here, but there's one part where they talk about tourism, and it's like, ooh, do they know Seaside? Like, do they know what we're talking about here? Like, it sounds like it's describing something for another community
Yeah.
to promote tourism. I'm like, we have a ton of tourism, like, that isn't actually that wasn't part of what I heard us or other people talking about, getting more tourists here. I don't know, it's just, there's some misses. I think, and I look at, there's some really good data in the community survey about what they want more of, and then I'm like, oh, where does that show up in the strategic plan? Like, why isn't it showing up in the strategic, like, that type of analysis is the part that I am seeing that's missing.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, to me, it would be really helpful. I think it's been a little bit tough to make suggestions to a printout or a PDF without, so I don't know if we can get the documents in a Google Doc kind of format or a Word doc format or something that, where we can actually cut and paste some stuff or provide feedback, but.
Could ask, maybe there's a way to improve that part of the process.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to know why we're talking about Oregon state statutes and then we're not defining them. You know, I mean, Oregon state statute 244.410, why do we need that in there? And what is it? I mean, if it's in here, what is it? And I really don't see the relevance of it, unless it can be defined. And then I look at, there's a couple of graphs that are confusing to me. On page 20, that graph, I don't understand what it says. I mean, I don't understand it.
Like the growth in population?
Well, it's total 15-minute population, 12,297 total. And then the next one, total 15-minute population, 12,635. I don't know why, I don't know what 10-minute, 15, and 30-minute means. I mean, I know what it is on a clock, but what does this say?
The driving distance to
Yeah.
SEPRD facilities.
Yeah, but it's 2028, it's almost, like, these are almost identical.
Yeah, I think it's showing that there's a little bit of population growth in our service area, but not much.
You know,
Well, I thought I don't know where it is, but that there was more than the 2.85% projected growth. So, I don't understand this. And then,
Madam,
huh?
Go ahead, Kyle.
I'll wait till Sue's finished.
Well, on page 24, what is the x-axis on that? It's the SEPRD population by age range within 30 minutes.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Sue.
I mean, I'm
Well, what
sorry.
this tells me, the linear regression line tells me that the older you get, the farther away you move from the district. Either that, or the farther away you move from the district, the older you get.
Yeah, it feels like it's trying to be very dense in this data piece, and it doesn't really then have any analysis about an actionable item, like what do we do with that information, like what, and what, right? It doesn't give us, I think the data is there, like I said, like if you look at our age breakdown of the population, you can see that we skew to senior age folks in this community. And that to me then is actionable, because then we need to look at what senior age folks want in our community.
What
in terms
programs
of
we can
recreation.
deliver,
And
right.
then- right, and what we can deliver, how we can fill those gaps, right? Like where the gaps are and what we can fill. And so to me, that's where you get to actionable kind of stuff. But now we just have a plethora of data that I think, Sue, that sounds like what you're sort of swimming in, is there's all of this data, and so what, right? We don't get to the so what.
Yeah,
in here.
and, I mean, I need a definition of the matrix, the program matrix. I don't understand what that means. I saw the movie. I mean.
So, Madam Chair. So first, Chris, thank you. You guys went through a tremendous amount of work to revise this from the previous, document. And the previous document, I think we all admit, is suboptimal. But, this is far better. Thank you for all the work that you've done. To be fair to the board, I don't think I'm prepared to vote on this tonight. I think I need to study it some more. I really only had it for a week, and I read it on the plane, and you know, it takes a bit to digest. So if it's okay with the board, I'm not prepared to vote on this yet. Or if the board calls for a vote, I'll probably abstain. But I think it's much improved. I appreciate the work that everybody has done to put into this. Obviously, you brought in some other resources to polish it up and make it good. I don't have any specific questions. The one question I had was about the linear regression line, but that's not important. I think I'd like to sit with it for a few days and think about what the strategic goals are for us and what tactics we could use to meet those. And I'm just not quite there yet. So
I would like to add in the work, it talks about the mission of Sunset Empire. I think they need to print it. You know, we print it in our, every one of these. And I think it, as part of transparency, we should have the vision statement and the mission statement, and then you can refer back to it, not give part of it in the document. And I think I mentioned that the last time too, so I think that belongs there. I think whatever we can do to be more transparent, more easily readable for our audience of the population of the city, I think, and I say what Kyle said, this is so much better than what we had before, and I thank you for the work you did, but I think it still needs some more work.
I think maybe we might want to clarify rules, because Chris as far as I know, isn't responsible for editing the draft or, for some of the challenges. He's our owner's rep, so he is a, agent working on our behalf to help us reach the outcomes associated with like occupancy, our strategic plan, some of the other heavier projects that we, are embarking on and don't have the technical necessarily, the technical experience as staff and board to accomplish those. So, Chris, do you have anything to share about the strategic plan?
Yeah, I wanted to thank all the board members today for their comments. I've been typing feverishly on my side to try and capture as many of those comments as possible. I did appreciate everyone's remarks regarding the strategic plan. It's good to hear that it has been improved from what it was, certainly, and it sounds like we've got some more things that we need to get corrected before we're willing to move this to a vote and eventually get adopted. So I like Skylar's comments he kind of mentioned a moment ago in terms of what does the board think is the best way to gather the input? I know you've only had this revised one for a short-ish amount of time, approximately 2 weeks, somewhere in that time frame. Does the board want to review and provide comments independently? Does the board want to more or less, I'll use the word nominate, a couple of individuals who want to spearhead providing these comments and potentially having another standalone meeting to get the comments out there and make sure that Scott Edwards and SFA are in attendance and there's no miscommunication? How does the board see getting this thing over the finish line by incorporating the comments?
Madam Chair, I'd be happy to be a liaison for this process.
Yeah, I think that would be great, Kyle. Does anybody have any suggestions for that?
I really liked what Kyle said last month, with the first revision. And Kyle, help me here. It's like, whatever you write should be clean, and like sharp. I don't know, what was your comment? Do you remember?
The written word should be clean as bone.
Okay, that's not what I remember. Thank you.
Now, yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just thinking of another one of my comments. I've thought in the criteria that was developed there that about ball fields, how many baseball fields do we have? How many football fields do we have? There's not much talk about soccer fields. It does mention that there is someone playing soccer in Warrenton. That's the Lower Columbia Youth Soccer League. I think they should be identified by the organization they are. And also, secondly, it needs to be clarified that is county recreation land, and that they have a perennial lease to have those soccer fields out there. Now, those could become an asset for a fundraiser. If someone wanted to have a soccer tournament, here in the county, you would want the soccer league involved with you. I know that the volleyball teams, sometimes they have grass volleyball tournaments. You can have a volleyball tournament out there, but I think you need to identify the youth soccer league properly, and that land does not belong to Warrenton. It's in the Warrenton, habitat, if you will. Warrenton would claim it to be theirs, but it in fact is county recreation land, just like Camp Kawanalong is. All those soccer fields are given over for recreational use by the county.
Yeah, and I think, a couple things. Like, I think I think part of what makes me feel like this is just not tailored to us is like, there's almost no mention of farmers market, for instance. Like, it's just left out of the whole thing. There's no recommendations around childcare. I mean, like, we have big programs, swaths of our programming. It's just missing any discussion in our strategic plan. What it feels like is boilerplate of somebody else's park and rec program. And we have some unique features, and they're like hardly mentioned in the document. And for that reason, I think, and Kyle, I don't know how you propose, or if you have an idea about how we go about, the challenge I have is I don't feel like the document doesn't need like wordsmithing. To me, I mean, there might be some wordsmithing or corrections or including names.
There's a few typos in there.
Yeah, or including a county name or somebody, but, so there's detailed corrections that need to be made, but there's also just sort of large pieces missing. And so, yeah, Kyle, I appreciate you offering up that you'd be willing to be liaison on that, and I think that'd be great. And I'm struggling with a little bit about what the process is gonna look like, but I'm sure you could come up with something. Did we lose Kyle? I don't see him up there anymore.
Yeah, I still see him.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking, that this might require a work session.
Yeah, I think.
I hate to suggest that to the board, but, like I said, I'm happy to be the liaison, but, I don't think the board is on necessarily the same page right now in terms of where we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the board needs to do a little more work before we ask the consultants to do more work.
I agree.
Would you like to, sorry, I like that idea. It seems like it might be good use of the time, but now, Kyle just threw me for a loop because I was expecting that maybe we would invite the authors, or at least Brandon's kind of coordinated reviews and edits from the consultant side. Would we want to invite them to the workshop so they can hear the feedback, or are we just using the workshop to consolidate feedback and take notes and then share that feedback with them?
What do you think, Kyle?
My comments would be much better understood if I unmuted my mic first. I had a really clever sentence that I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I'm happy with whatever process the board decides, but, from the time that I first interviewed with Skylar, this was one of the things that was really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still important to me. So, however I can be involved, I'd like to be involved.
Well, I think I'm hearing, it seems like there's support for you leading the charge, if you're willing to take that on as our liaison. I guess the question would be,
Yeah.
and I think it sounds like there's also maybe support for a work session. The question for you is, would we have Brandon there since he was sort of the compiler / author, or would we prefer to do a work session with board only first?
My preference would be board only, but,
Okay.
it's an open meeting, we can't really exclude him, it's not an executive session, so if he wants to show up and listen, he sure can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we can look for some dates to schedule that sometime soon.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Thanks.
Would it be okay if we move item C, the occupancy process, before the project report?
Sure.
I just think, I think we have some audience members that want to hear about that process maybe, and also, gives us a chance to perhaps get Chris some input time, and then he doesn't have to stay if he doesn't want to. Well, so I guess I'll start. So yeah, we had our meeting last Thursday to discuss this. This feels like it was yesterday most of the time to me, but there's been a few items. We haven't gotten a great deal of clarity, I think, on some of the questions that we have. I did have an opportunity to speak with our counsel, our attorney today for a period of time, and our attorney advised us against signing the letter, or against advised me against signing the letter. Also had the opportunity to visit with the city manager casually. I need to get something kind of a little more formal established with him, but asked the question that was posed on Thursday of why can't the city just grant us a temporary certificate of occupancy during this, I guess, 5-month period now for us to work towards another temporary or a different temporary certificate, or a certificate of occupancy that could be temporary for that 5-month period, and then another one to be issued in July. And I think, from what I understand, that they would be potentially open to that as a solution. But there's still some discussions and conversations that they need to have internally. Like I mentioned last week, some of the key figures in this discussion on the city's behalf were unavailable. They were out with some illness and things. So I don't have a lot of other updates to share. We're working on doing our part, finalizing the fire alarm process and getting that inspected and finished, and doing some other things to make sure that we have our, I think, ducks in a row, so that when the time comes, we're prepared to do what we need to do to address those items 1 through 6, because we expect that those would be required at whatever point they're required by.
And just for clarity for the public who maybe wasn't at last meeting, the question is that when we purchased the school, we had to go through a proposed change of use, because it was a school and now it's a recreation facility. That's what we're proposing to use it as. And in order to do that, we had to get a conditional use approval through the city, and that got approved in March, I think it was.
Correct.
We got a conditional change of use so that we can use the property as a rec center. So that got approved. So once we got that approved, then we had to go over, now we have to get building permits that allow us to occupy the building as a recreation center. So that goes through the building plans process, which in turn engages the fire department and to make sure everything's safe. So we've been going through all of these hoops to be able to legally occupy the building for its new proposed use. And we're not over the finish line with that yet. That is, and there's some question because of, as far as we know, based on guidance from our consultants, is that we never lost occupancy of the building because it was an old school, and that we didn't lose that occupancy, but at the same time we're trying to go after a new temporary occupancy as a recreation center.
Well, thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, and so the problem, until we have that, moving fitness classes, moving equipment over there, that it becomes problematic to start moving it when we don't have an official approval to use it as a rec center.
Yeah. A lot of frustration.
Skylar, what's the ramification of you not signing that document?
I don't know. The letter doesn't really outline that. It just asks for a signature. I haven't shared the results of the conversation with our attorney with the city yet, but probably will need to do that as part of some larger questions that we're trying to get clarification on. I think that there's an opportunity for us to have a better partnership on this project moving forward, and I'm looking forward to that engagement being demonstrated. I think we're ready to demonstrate it. I think the city is ready also. But yeah, we just need some of those questions answered in terms of 1 through 6, items 1 through 6 on that letter that they provided us, what those actually mean, and some clarity on some of the larger, more heavier lifts, the mechanical permit system. I think that's a big question for us. And then the building safety, I think that was number 2. So yeah, more to come, but this will continue to be a part of our, a significant part of my time, and we'll update the board, of course. And I wish that we had clarity to move forward and either open up the facility or say, like, oh, we're not going to open, but we're planning to open in this date. I just think that we're missing too much of that information right now to do that.
So, Chris, I think part of this was that you were going to try to help us with some counter proposals around timelines or expectations within 6 months, or whatever it's gonna be, in the letter? Is that something you've been able to think about or make progress on?
Yeah, I can do that, absolutely. I threw out one, we're supposed to, based on, line item, or, number, 1, in what they call permits finalized. There's some scope of work that's required, in the building to complete, fire barrier separations. That needs to be, approved, built, and final inspection by July 1st of 2025. That, in my opinion, is a large task for the district in terms of what's required in terms of permitting, public procurement process that you would need to go through, which is always lengthy, allowing time for respondents through that process, getting people on board, getting contracts finalized, purchasing materials, procurement, you name it. So that is a very, very fast timeline, in my opinion, and I think one that would be more reasonable would be a year's timeline, instead of like the 6 months, from January 1, which we've already lost all of January, to July 1. So that would be my recommendation. And then again, if you recall, one of the major components with that as well is cost to the district. This is not an insignificant amount of work that would need to occur in the short term, and it would, hopefully be budgeted and part of your accounting and fiscally approved and all those items. So, if we had the money today, could we get it done by that time frame? Maybe. It'd be really fast. It'd be a rush job. So. I think just with, financial impacts and with where we're at in today's current construction market, this being a public district and not a private entity, I think that we should be requesting from the city if we have a discussion on that overall timeline.
Chris, can I ask you, alternate to a one-year timeline, because what I'm, sort of at least the tone of the letter was they want to see more progress, right? Like that, although I think there is some question about whether or not they have visibility to progress, or if all the parties have the same visibility to all the progress that's been made. But I'm curious, if they wanted to keep a 6 months, because all we're getting to at the 6 month timeline is a temporary certificate of occupancy, right? So it's still a it's not a permanent certificate of occupancy, it's just temporary certificate.
Yeah.
So in 6 months,
that's correct.
what would a revised scope of work that would be reasonable in 6 months? Is it to pull permits? Is it like, is there a part one of that would be reasonable to pull in the 6 month timeline if they wanted to stick to like a 6 month check-in timeline?
Yeah, there's 7 items for compliance requirements, and each one of them has their own time frame.
Yeah.
So number 1, the scope of work to do all the fire and life safety upgrades, it says construction needs to be complete and finalized by July 1. The second item, mechanical permit, states that it just needs to be approved and get an approved permit by July 1. So each of these items, they're basically giving you a reprieve on the mechanical scope.
Right.
Because I think they recognize that the mechanical scope is a very significant undertaking, and is a major long-term investment that will need to be budgeted. So I think that's why they're saying, okay, we're all right with you getting permit approved by July 1, knowing that, and then we'll give you a TCO at that time, and then you have X time in order to get that completed and bought off. So, again, I think sitting down with the district and understanding where we're looking financially to see if that weighs into what we would, hopefully sit down with the city and say, these are the timeframes that we think are reasonable based on not only construction and permitting and design and procurement, but the finances of the district.
Yeah. I think one of the things, Skylar, this process, we've had this before where we have collaborations and that maybe we had everybody not on the same page before, and I think the IGA was an example where we did eventually get everybody on the same page and at least had built a process or a framework in which we could work together and have some consensus on items. Is there anything like that that you could see that we could do here to make sure
Yeah,
that?
I think, we could, seek to establish like a memorandum of understanding with the city. It could be something that is initiated with a response to the letter and maybe proposes, not an alternative timeline, but a timeline that we feel like is more realistic and obtainable for us. That was something that our council suggested would be a good response, and instead of signing the letter, writing the letter back and saying, here's what we can do and here's the timeline that we feel like is realistic for us given our constraints that Chris has discussed. I think, once we kind of have, I think, those terms sort of lined up, having a formal MOU or an agreement of some sort would be really, it would give, I think, the district, all of our stakeholders clarity and understanding and some peace of mind to know, okay, here's the standard, it's realistic for us to obtain, we can get this done, and here's what we're going to get in turn, and it may still give them the comfort, I guess, of knowing that SEPRD is working towards the standards that they feel like are missing from the building.
Yeah, I guess what I would propose is that in addition to us abiding by their standards, like, what I would hope is that we could engage them as a community partner and understand the needs we're trying to fill in the community, and that they could be help crafting in those solutions. So that, for instance, if we're missing a fitness center because of damage to the existing building, what can they do to get us into the SRC? We have the space over there. What could be done? How could we write a temporary occupancy permit that would allow that to come to fruition for our community, but meet all the safety standards that they rightfully have oversight of, right? Like, that they need to watch out for. And so, like, can we craft that together instead of this back and forth where they're setting conditions and know whether we can't apply, like this back and forth about not being able to.
Yeah.
It feels like we need to get to a stage where we're more collaborative in meeting the community needs, given that we have the SRC available to us.
Okay.
And it feels like there's people missing from different conversations, which is what the IGA kind of situation felt like before, is there'd be a conversation over here and then a conversation over there, and it feels like there needs to be some sort of way to get us together.
I agree with you, but I also think that the board, speaking to the board, that we might have the capacity to feed the kitty. We could actually take out an additional loan to fund, more immediate projects, which we have defined. So if we can hang a number on that, maybe the board can look at that, because we could add to our existing loan or take out a smaller.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
we don't have grants in place.
Sort of dovetails into why the strategic plan is so important, because we need that to represent what we need in the community, like expanded fitness areas, or more pickleball, or whatever it is. We need that represented in the strategic plan so that we can advocate for that.
We've got the community clamoring for it.
Yeah.
We know everybody wants it, we want to give it to them.
So, yeah, is there anything we can do to support that?
I think there will be, yeah. I guess I feel not completely lost at all, but just I'm stepping into an unknown process. I think the next steps for us seem to be to respond to the letter in some way, either through a counter letter or by engaging the city to work with us in a more collaborative way.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like that's what the board is asking staff to initiate. Is that accurate?
I mean, it seems to me that if option A is back and forth about what regulations we can meet and which timelines. Like, it feels like that's been a discussion path we've been going down for 3 years. And we can't get clarity, and the bar kind of moves on what we need to do by when and how, and it feels very much, like a bureaucratic set of guidance that we're having to that we're always in a response mode. They declare, we respond. They declare, we respond. And it's gotten us to a place now where it's come to a bit of a head with a higher stakes communication from the city.
Yeah.
So I don't know that continuing down the path of back and forth response is going to be productive in a different way. And so, and to me, it's just reminiscent of where we were with the IGA and having these responses in emails and written form that weren't actually building up a collaborative kind of cooperative kind of partnership. So I would propose that we pitch this idea of, what did we call it? IGA Management Committee, I think is what we called it before for that, and that we do something for this and have some sort of management committee to hammer out a memorandum of understanding. I would much rather see us have a memorandum of understanding that was collaboratively built than a series of back and forth letters of disagreement back and forth, and yeah, it seems like it would be more productive.
I think an MOU would be a good start, but somehow those seem to be getting lost over time. So we don't, an MOU might be forgotten in 10 years and maybe we'll get our hands on it.
Well, what was the time frame on that letter for you to sign?
I want to say it was 30 days to
So
receive,
20.
but, you know.
February 20,
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. So we definitely need something before then.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably like a tomorrow morning, figure out next steps.
Mhm.
There's not, I'm really confident in saying there hasn't been a great deal of delaying on the district's part in finding solutions to this, not in the last month and not basically from 3 years ago when we completed the purchase of the building. Like, this has been a priority for myself, for our facilities and maintenance team, for Darren's position, for Chris and our project manager, our architect. Like, we all really want to be able to use the building at its full capacity. And yeah, this situation is challenging, but I think it seems like we have some good headway and a good start on making some progress. And to me, what we are discussing seems reasonable, that the city would, I think, appreciate it from there, and to be not have to do the back and forth and to have an agreement and some understanding on what's going to happen and the timing that it's going to happen.
I also think it might be beneficial, and I don't know, I think you have a good lay of the land, and I agree. I think your team has been super responsive, and I think that's part of the frustration that I have, is to see how hard our team has worked to getting us in the building, to making it available to the public, and it's frustrating to have roadblocks keep moving about what it takes to get into there. And for that reason, I would propose that we think carefully and strategically about who gets brought to the table to help participate in that MOU, because I think perhaps we need somebody from the city council, for instance, to be in on that meeting. Like, I think we need some other eyes, because there's too many disparate conversations taking place, and so we don't quite know where stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
There's even the planning commission.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Chris, anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update on the fire alarm update for the SRC. We were hopeful we were going to get it wrapped up by this last week. The last couple of days here in January. I did receive note today that testing took a little bit longer than they wanted to, and in testing some of the CO2 alarms, anyway, they fell short, and they're going to need to push until next week. So now we are targeting hopefully a final inspection on February 7th. That's next Friday. All things if everything goes well, we will hopefully have a fully signed off brand new fire alarm system for the SRC. I think, we did have the fire marshal out there and was able to talk with him and share a progress update. So I'm hoping they're satisfied with the progress, and we should be wrapped up there soon.
Great.
Thanks, Chris. The other two updates under projects were systems development charges. So those are SDCs. The district staff submitted a few pieces of data that the group that we're working with, it was called FCS. They got bought out by a parent company named Bowman Group. So you may see that on the check registry as we move forward. But they asked for some pieces of data and a project list or a proposed project list. So that is like a ambitious list of ways that we could expand services. That's what STCs are for, an expansion of facilities to provide more facility space for folks. So we, staff identified a few projects. And there's a number of things that qualify. And again, going back to this, we need that document to verify, and the survey is helpful, but we know anecdotally some of those projects that we know to either replace existing facilities or expand facilities like the SRC, or even to provide spaces that aren't currently available in our community. So submitted that project list, and we're moving forward with the consultants. And, yeah, pleased with the relationship that we have with them.
You said you already submitted the project list?
We did. It's not, I mean, it can be edited.
Yeah.
It will be.
Is it possible to just see that as we consider and think about the
Yeah, sure.
strategic plan? It would be great to just see what staff thought were priorities. Yeah.
Absolutely. I will send that out to the board later this week. Catherine's crosswalk, she's not here, but I've been providing some updates to her, really pleased. There's a couple little delays, but the crosswalk will actually be delivered to the city Public Works building tomorrow. And the city will handle installation after that. I don't know if that will happen tomorrow or Thursday, or even because the Public Works Department has lots on their plate, but I know this is a priority for them to get them installed. I think it's kind of neat. The system has some reporting functions that are really nice, so we can learn how many activations the buttons are getting at different times of the day and throughout the month, and also how well the solar panels, the solar regeneration of that system is working. So we loop Isaiah, our network admin, into that conversation. So we'll be able to share some feedback, and I think overall, just pleased that that area getting to and from the district will be a little bit safer for folks.
Can you say again, what's the timeline on that?
So the posts and signs will be delivered to Public Works tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
And hoping for a quick installation after that. I can't make any promises because it's kind of in there. That was part of the agreement that they would handle installation, but I know it's important for them, and there's something they were looking forward to having done as well.
Great.
I think that's it for old business. We are prepared to move into new business. There's some memos that are supposed to guide us kind of through our conversation, but the first one deals with the foundation board. We already talked a little bit about the foundation board with our audit report. We haven't come to the district board with a foundation board update in some time because we've had really a lot of stability, but the bylaws of the foundation board require changes in membership and also changes in leadership to be approved by the district board. And so I've shared the list of foundation board members, and they had elections, and there's a slate of officers for you to review, and it's staff's position that this is a great composition of foundation board members, of engaged people, and looking forward to the new officers. I did note that previous foundation board chair, Ashley Lukinger, has been in that role for a number of years, so I think she's looking forward to still serving on the foundation board, but not in the chair role. and made a note at the bottom of what language might look like to accept the proposed slate of members, accept the resignation of one, of Marcus Runkle, who resigned, and accept the or proposed leadership of the foundation board.
Would anybody like to make the motion?
I move that we accept the proposed slate of Sunset Empire Park and Rec Foundation Board members, and accept the resignation of Marcus Runkle, and accept the proposed leadership of the foundation board.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Sue?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Motion passed. And with big thanks to the foundation, board of directors. It's great to have their service.
Okay, I'm gonna pivot over here.
When does that board meet?
That board meets on the
First Monday.
first Monday at 4 o'clock, 4:15?
4:15, you're still back there, sorry, I thought you left.
You just moved.
First Monday of the month?
Yeah, and since Darren's here, I honestly thought you left. I would just say, Darren talked a little bit about this, but Darren is really our staff liaison that works with the foundation board. I try to attend and support the board, and they support us really well, but Darren is the staff that does almost all of the legwork, so appreciate that. All right, I have, as I shared with you in the packet, and as you are aware, we have a unique program that we want to draw out and bring to the board for discussion and review. And it has to do with the fee change and how it impacted or is impacting that program. It's a specific program, it's unique. The primary instructor is Carolyn, and she's here, and I don't want this to be awkward. Carolyn and I worked really closely together on this presentation, got her feedback. She was very informative and helpful in providing some of this information. Frankly speaking, it's a little bit of an awkward position because this policy was created, staff and board working together, but it's, staff doesn't really feel like we have I don't think it's within what the board was designing for staff to make exceptions to the policy. And this particular program is impacted a little bit more by the policy than some other programs. So we're gonna just share some information. Carolyn's here. You can direct your questions to her. She's way more informed and capable to answer the questions than I am, but I'm presenting some of the information. And even though it's a public meeting and she's obviously here, and maybe some other folks who have utilized this program are here, or other, it's not just one program, but a few programs that she is offering. Even though it's a little bit unique to have a public discussion in front of the employee, it's transparent, and it's really the only way that I think we could do this. So forgive us, but it's just the way it is. So wanted to just share a little bit. I think everybody knows Carolyn. She's been here, she's presented before, but her time is kind of divided. Sorry, this is even more awkward if I'm sitting down. Her time is provided to a couple of different things. So she provides a great service to the community and to her clients in private lessons and coaching. I say both of those things because I think that the format that she engages with her clients is unique. It's not just teaching kids to swim necessarily, but it's also enhancing a skill set that a swimmer may have to get them faster to the next level, get them better at a certain skill set in swimming. And she also is able to provide some instruction to user groups that we can't serve that well through some of her lesson programs. So she is great with working with swimmers with disabilities, mental and physical. She has done a lot of that. She's great with working with those higher level swimmers, people that are learning to swim, swimmers that are not able to learn in the group swim environment that we offer. So that's that first bullet. Another thing that she's taken on and really helped us with is providing some training for fire and rescue swimmers, some clinics, some training for them to help them be able to meet the standards of those programs that they have to meet, but also to improve those skills so that their response times when they're called upon to do a water rescue like we had a couple weeks ago, I think, in Cannon Beach, they'll be able to do that better. And I think the collaboration that we have there with those folks is really important to our community. She's running some preseason skills and conditioning clinics for our swimmers. A lot of those, I think, are for the high school athletes. Carolyn's worked closely and coached the Seaside High School swim team, I think as a volunteer coach, if I remember. But she has lots of experience in that competitive environment. And then some of her time is allocated for administration time, so she's working with the clients to get them registered for the lessons, or for her chunks of time that she has available, planning for those lessons, probably getting prepared, following up with those lessons all of the time that she has for scheduling the lessons. She's generally responsible for marketing the lessons herself, and that's unique. Most of, our preschool teachers aren't out necessarily finding their own preschool students to enroll. Carolyn's doing a lot of that herself. She's doing that through her great reputation, word of mouth that she has, and then when she has a block of lessons open or her time for next month, then she's sending notices out to her participants and encouraging them to sign up. The private lesson program, there's a few different categories, and I'll get into more of this in a moment, but there's the in-district youth, there's out-of-district, what we call competitive, or what I've kind of categorized as competitive swimmers. Out-of-district, like our neighbors, some of those are competitive, some of those are, they live out of the district, but we're still kind of teaching them to swim, or some of those basic swim skills. There's Cape Best scholarship recipients, so a couple of years ago, actually I guess it was about 18 months ago, we had a active user of the pool, Cape Best, who wanted to establish a scholarship fund for folks that had mental disability, individual swimmers. And so we have a scholarship process for Carolyn, works with that, those swimmers. And last year, I think we served, we just ran a report on this, Darren, was it 3 swimmers at a total value of around $2,000, which is what Cape Best is committed to funding each year if we have the demand. So it's a really awesome program. We're thrilled to have Carolyn's expertise and also to have Kate's generosity. She helps teach adults to swim, not just young people, but adults, and then first responders, including some of the lifeguard staff we've had. Folks that come to the district and really want to work as a lifeguard, but don't know how to swim, and I know that sounds surprising, but for whatever reason, they feel a draw to the calling, or maybe they think that they're good swimmers, but they can't quite meet all the standards that lifeguards have to meet. So Carolyn will work with them on an individual basis and help them get to a level where they will be able to perform as lifeguards should be able to perform. And her lessons are provided for 60-minute blocks. Just important to know that. Some data on her service group and usage over the last 3 years she's been with us. We have an average of 525 lessons per year. So you can see that the lessons kind of fluctuate a little bit depending on the quarter, but generally speaking, she's a little bit busier in the summer than in the fall and maybe early spring times, and she can probably explain that better than I can, but I think it has to do a lot with how much full time we have available and how much time those swimmers have available when they're not maybe already competing, doing their own swim team type thing. We kind of mapped out, I wanted to kind of plot the user groups. So this one is helpful, but this is our in-district users, so you're all familiar with where the district boundaries are. So you'll see our in-district users come from all over the district. Our out-of-district, what I called our out-of-district neighbors. So sort of friends of the district, but people in the county or just outside the county in Manzanita, Wheeler, Nehalem area, and then one that's out towards Jewel. But a lot of the users, Carolyn's been able to, again, market. This is something that other pools in our area don't have access to this kind of instruction. And so she's been able to get a lot of students to participate in our program that wouldn't have otherwise probably been able to do some of these things.
Can you just, I couldn't read this, can you just like tell me like what are the 2 cities on the bottom?
Right here? This is Manzanita, and it says it's close to Foss. I think it was actually like a Wheeler or a Nehalem address. I'm not sure. I tried not to, give too much detail because I think it's, I just didn't wanna like disclose people's addresses in public record, but just kinda give you a general plot where folks are coming from.
Thank you.
And then this one, anecdotally, I knew that Carolyn was serving a lot of out-of-district competitive sports tourism swimmers, because when you're walking through the pool, or if I happen to be swimming, and Carolyn was teaching one of these students, there's a few things that stood out. One is they're exceptionally good swimmers, like really fast, and they have they're long, and they look like future Olympians, and they would always be wearing LO Swim Club or some other identifying swim cap that showed me that maybe they were coming from far away. And so when she provided some data, it showed where the swimmers are coming from. You can see we have swimmers coming from pretty far away, a lot in the Clackamas County area, different cities around there. Carolyn can give you more information on this, but she used to live in that area and still has a lot of connections, so she has a reputation, a very good reputation, as being able to serve people, help them, again, not learn a new skill, but become more proficient at a skill or improve their times, other things. And yeah, one local swimmer in Cannon Beach, or with a second home here, and then one in Ridgefield, Washington as well.
Can I
yes,
just,
yes,
a clarifying question? Do we think those people are actually traveling, for a swim lesson? Or are they
Absolutely.
people that have primary residences in Portland and then a beach residence here?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Great question. Carolyn can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that these people are traveling out here for the day, but sometimes as often as a couple of sessions a month, or maybe even more frequently. Carolyn, again, can answer that. But they're definitely traveling out here to access the tutelage that she is able to provide. That, I mean, based on nothing else, it doesn't sound like they can get somewhere closer, or maybe just, Carolyn's level A, and what they can get in Portland is not level A.
I have seen her coaching some of those kids.
I have a little media here, so here's one of those competitive swimmers, and it's a short video, but to me that's different than how I might look getting into the pool, or most of our general swimmers. So you'll see we just put a little chart together that showed the previous rates or fees for this program, what we charged, and then what we proposed as a fee for 2025, given the new fee structure. And you'll notice a slight increase for in-district. That was pretty standard with what we did with all of our programs, because of inflation and other expenses. We have risen just about all of our in-district rates, just a small amount, and then use that percentage difference to find the non-resident rate. So you'll see that it's pretty significant.
So,
Oh,
can
go
you
ahead.
stop there? 'Cause I'm a little confused about the math, because if it was a 60% discount, the out-of-district rate would have been $83.
This,
Oh, wait, no, on the 2025, so 0.6 of, oh wait, 0.4 of 125, is that right? Yeah, never mind, okay,
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
I know,
Nope, I got it.
did that a few
Okay.
times. So some concerns that have been raised, and one of the reasons why we're bringing this is because we heard some feedback from folks upon implementing the new fee structure of some feelings and things, but for the most part, I think it's gone well. But one program that seems to be impacted significantly was this private lesson program. So just because of the disparity, I think, going back to this chart, the fee change implements this program perhaps more significantly than it does other programs. So that's one consideration or concern that came forward. We're concerned, I think, that the high fee increase for non-residents will significantly change how our non-district folks access this program, and they may choose or not have the resources to utilize this service anymore. Because going from the $60 to $125 an hour is a sizable increase, right? And I think that, it's fair to say that, reducing or eliminating that sports tourism component of Carolyn's program is a strong consideration for the district and how we apply this fee structure going forward. And then the third thing that it does, or the third concern that I guess came up, is that it reduces some opportunities for those swimmers, like the ones I mentioned at the beginning, to have access to learning to swim programs and to getting more comfortable in water and to growing into competent swimmers that can do the things that we want all of our young people to be able to do if they were to encounter the water. And the fact of the matter is that Carolyn has access to some folks that don't fit very well or have tried our group lesson program and it hasn't worked for them for various reasons. So we put together, I know that the board generally likes options and opportunities for discussion, so put together some options for the board to consider. And certainly you're not compelled to, take my word for it. I'm staff, Carolyn's staff. We work on behalf of the district, but we will bring these to you because we've vetted them, we've thought about them, and I think they all have benefits of worthy of consideration. So one is that we would reclassify all aquatic programs to be basically exempted or moved under that youth programs discount. So that discount is 40%. So the member of the board set the fee structure policy to be 60% for all programs except for youth programs, and that was 40%. So that would significantly lower the out-of-district rate to around $80 instead of that $125, which is what it's proposed to now. The other thing, another option that we could do is price private swim lessons separately. So basically exempt them completely from the fee structure that was adopted, and maintain that current 25% discount for residents with an overall fee raise. So a modest fee increase for both in-district and out-of-district users. That's proposal 2. I'll go back to that if you want. There is another option, and I think it's important for us to just bring this up because it is an option, but one of the things that we've talked about is transitioning Carolyn services to where she's not an employee of the district, but she would be a privately contracted person, and we would rent space to her, rent the lane space to her, and then she would be able to allocate the space and charge for her program as she saw fit. That's the style that we had in place, not necessarily with a swim instructor, but with a lot of fitness-based instructors when I started at the district, and it's, to be candid, it's something that we've tried to move away from because I really see the value in having our instructors that are representing us and that are working in district facilities to embody what we want all of our employees to embody and to have the mission of the district as something that they are proud of and that we are proud of them for the services that they offer. But it is an option that we could do. So we would rent lane space to Carolyn or to a different employee based on our pool schedule, our availability, and on the rate that we would set. And then she or employee would be able to offer that space based off it. And I think it's important for us to note that if we were to move to this option, then it would be the contractor that would select what program they want to offer, how much they want to charge, who they want to serve. So it might not look, their clientele base might not look the same way that it does now. But we are able to work closely with Carolyn to ensure, like, okay, we have access to this group. We have access and time provided for the K-Best scholarship owners and for this person that lives in Seaside and for this person that lives in Portland, and try to strike a really healthy balance between the user groups. It wouldn't really be fair for us to necessarily require Carolyn to continue to do that in the same way if she was a private contractor renting space from us. So
can I ask if there's an additional option?
Oh, sure, there's probably like lots of other options.
Well,
we came up with.
I'm doing some very quick math, so I don't know if my math is correct, but from what I'm seeing is that we actually, based on the new fee rate, there's 51.25, that we'd be increasing revenue by 66%. which I don't think was our intention necessarily. It was more to make equity for people that are paying into the tax base. So if you change the rate to $30 for in-district and $75 for an out-of-district, you'd actually maintain the same revenue as last year.
If we had the same user group, is
If
what
you
you're
had the
saying?
same user group,
Yeah.
based on your demographics. So if you did a $30 so you'd actually be doing a reduction for
For
in-resident
in-
folks, and up to $75 for out-of-district. The equity piece is important, because I don't know, I haven't taken private swim lessons, so I think I'd be interested in knowing how often people come for a private swimming lesson. But if I were gonna go under the scenario, if I were a private swim person, if I were a competitive swimmer and taking one lesson a month, as an in-district taxpayer, I'm already paying $40 to belong to the district, plus the fee for the private lesson. And it seems to me that an in-district person, you should be able to pay the $40 plus the private lesson fee, and that should not be more expensive than what somebody coming from Cannon Beach is paying.
I think that's
And if you did a 30-75 split, that's $40 difference. Which is approximately, that's sort of an average
Yeah, I think,
contribution that people are making in town.
I think, like I said, that, resident price that was set is based on, like, our cost recovery model, and factoring in, okay, like, how much does this program cost to offer, and what is the district expected to generate on a program basis?
This would keep you even with last year.
That would with the same split. So
Yeah.
I'm just establishing, like, that's why we set the rate, and I think we knew when we set it, we were like, oh man, it's a significant increase for the out-of-district folks. But again, I'm not sure if I didn't feel comfortable that staff had the leeway to kind of alter and adjust things. And I think we have some data now, anecdotal information as well, to sort of say, maybe this isn't the right price model
Yeah.
for, maybe there's a separate price model that works really well for this program and still gets us the same revenue, or keeps us sustainable with this program.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Kyle? Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna climb on my soapbox for a second. So I am opposed to subsidizing people that live outside of our district, because each dollar of subsidy represents the labor of our workers and the entrepreneurship of our businesses and the pensions of our seniors. And, you know, those dollars are precious to me if they go outside, because I think they're precious to our residents. But the exception to that is, I think it's more valuable to the community to have every child knowing how to swim than quaffing about subsidy dollars. I have a couple priorities here. First, I want to make sure Carolyn is satisfied and happy with the resolution that we come to, because we're making this resolution based on how awesome she is. But she could win the lottery, and then we could have somebody else in here who isn't as awesome and, you know, be facing some of the same stuff again. So my first issue is we need to keep Carolyn if we can, if she's willing to stay and do it. The second issue is, I don't know what the right price should be, but I think we need to consider the value to the community of having every child, every adult, every person, every visitor, whatever it is, knowing how to swim. And of course, we're not going to reach that, but you know, these are life-saving skills. And, you know, we're charging an awful lot for somebody to keep themselves alive. I think we need to reduce the cost and keep Carolyn and encourage other people to come swim here. Those are my thoughts.
do agree, we need to reduce the cost, so that it's broader, but we have to keep in mind also that there are private swim lessons. But there are reasons and needs for those private lessons, and we need to recognize that. And, if we can be more reasonable, let's do it.
Madam Chair, if I might speak.
Yep.
I listened to the board meetings, and I listened to all the board meetings in the fall, and listened as you debated the fee increase. And one of the driving principles was that you wouldn't drop below current collections. So the cost of a lesson that was being charged that has remained unchanged for 3 years at $45 an hour, that you wouldn't drop below that price point. Because one of the considerations that we talk about is what does the program cost to maintain? That includes compensating me for my time and making sure that we can run it. So it was already running for 3 years with no cost increases, and yet the district has taken care of cost of living adjustments to salaries, plus merit increases. So at some point, the program is unsustainable from your point. So for 3 years, we've maintained a price of $45 with if you want to look at it as the price of $60 with a 25% discount in district. That's been maintained for 3 years with no cost adjustments. And so as I was listening to the debate, it was, if we're not to drop below the current price of a lesson, it would have to go to $125 and $50. And that's what happened to maintain that 60% discount. So what we're suggesting is you have several options for consideration. One is, because most of the aquatics programs are directed at youth anyway, kinder swim, open swim, private lessons, group lessons, that you just reclassify all of that as aquatics youth under the youth discount. But that's the entire fee structure you'd have to look at. That may not be appropriate for group lessons that are oversubscribed. I don't know. You've already had a month of collections on that to consider signups and how that's going. So the second option was, we do need to increase the fees, and if we were to maintain that 25% ratio that we have right now, that's how this nets out at $70 and $52.50. So to consider your option of the 30 and 75, I think that basically violates your own principle that you stated in the fall.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I don't particularly remember talking about this particular category of these, because the prices are just so different than some of the other lessons, so I don't recall. But I do think the 100% recovery thing, I think in general, we've talked about that as a theory, and I don't know what the cost, I don't know. We just don't, the board that doesn't have that level of detail in what the cost recovery is for each kind of thing that we're doing is. So that's a good point, is that, do we know what the cost recovery is for this?
Top of my head, I do not.
Yeah.
We have a spreadsheet though that has.
That shows it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a particularly strong feeling. I would have making a decision for all aquatic programs based on this one program without seeing the data, because I don't know it off the top of my head what all the aquatics program data is and what's the pieces. But I think my question is how do we achieve equity for taxpayers who are already paying in to the district? If they're already paying $40 a month to belong to our rec center, to belong to us, how do we make it fair and give them enough of a discount compared to somebody that's coming in, again, from some affluent communities like Cannon Beach and Earhart, right? And that they're not paying the $40 per month already.
And let me address that. I specifically went back for 3 full years of data and gave Skylar the breakdown literally by address of where people were, from the top users on down. My top 2 users are Seaside residents. Over the course of 3 years, one resident took 70 lessons, and another took 65.
That's great.
Wow. I like the idea of reclassifying the aquatics, under the youth program idea. What do you think? Would that work?
I just don't have I don't know, I don't know the data.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have that prepared.
I mean, it may or may not be appropriate based on, call it surge pricing. If you have oversubscribed programs, The question that you have to answer as a board is, how are you serving the community? Because if you price it such that a community member can participate, that's great, that's what you want. But you also want to price it so that, again, in this case, the people that come into this private lesson program, please don't think Cannon Beach. That was probably a handful of people. This was people that just cannot find what they need. It's a lesson or it's a skill set. It's something that I bring to the pool that they will drive literally from out of county for those services, or they'll drive from a county, our northern neighbors that have a pool, because the lessons aren't available, the instructors aren't available, the pool space isn't available. So that's what I want you to consider as you review the pricing.
Yeah, I think that was a big consideration, is we also want to make sure that if you're a member of Park and Rec, like you're a tax-paying member of Park and Rec, that you're not priced out of it. In other words, if we're filling all the spots from out of district, if out of district people are filling all the spots.
No, that's why I ran all the numbers for, I wanted to show Skylar exactly where everybody's coming from. That's why we looked at the demographics. The 2 primary users of my program are Seaside residents who are in district and sports tourists that fit your mission statement. These are people that come in. If they drive in from Portland, they will spend 2 hours. They don't come in for 1 hour. They come in for 2 hours. And they, in some cases in the summer, will come in, take 2 hours in the afternoon, stay the night, take 2 hours in the morning. They eat in our restaurants, they stay in our hotels, they buy our groceries at our stores. They're like the PBL families. They come in and they know what they're getting and why they're driving out here to get it. They become some of the best ambassadors. I don't have to advertise this. They all go tell their friends.
Is there one of these proposals that's most attractive from your perspective?
We went through this very carefully, and I do believe proposal 2 is the right direction.
That's the one that I think, just to elaborate, I would support if it was me choosing or advising the board. And I think the reason is because our program, our demand for the programs in aquatics are high. We are at capacity. We're adding a swim lesson for another block of swim lesson time for next session. And really, the only thing stopping us from having even more swim lessons is just the lack of instructors. And I think, yes, we want kids to get swim lessons for sure. We also, that's an important source of revenue for the district. And probably will continue to be for the foreseeable future. We don't necessarily generate a lot of revenue on open swim or even on fitness classes, but swim lessons and private lessons and pool rentals are a main source of revenue for the pool. So I think having an exempt program that the fee structure doesn't necessarily apply to makes the most sense for that program and doesn't necessarily impact registration or future participation or revenue generation from existing aquatics programs.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Just listening to everybody, and Carolyn's expertise, I also see maybe some succession planning, and she's identifying swimmers that might be able to, that she might be able to hone their skills into also being instructors. And, you know, youth draws youth, so, you always want that succession plan to make sure the program is viable. But with Carolyn's guidance and leadership, I see that she can make this program last and grow and be very successful in the future.
Good point. So Skylar, were you talking about the aquatics program because you think the pricing structure as is okay for the other aquatics programs? And if we were to just to say carve out this is an exception to pricing?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, small sample size, but in month one of the new fee structure, we had no challenge filling swim lessons. All the sessions, all the available spots filled up. And to be honest, we are underserving our community because we're just not able to offer enough slots. So I think subsidizing that program more and taking away potential revenue moving forward, we know that that's going to be an in-demand program moving forward. I think doesn't line up, I think, with our hopes for like just revenue generation being sustainable as a district.
So are we looking at a proposal to eliminate what we put in place?
No, I don't think so. I think what we're bringing to the board for review and discussion is, do they want to offer this private lesson program at the percentage discount that the fee structure applied to, or do we want to make an exemption for a different fee structure to be incorporated for this program alone? And I think proposal 2 is like the one that Carolyn and I would both favor if the board were to change. But again, we want to be respectful of the process. I mean, we went through at least 3 to 4 months, I think, of deliberation about this topic. And honestly, I feel like the rollout of the new fee structure, aside from this program, has gone fairly well. And I think it's, we're hitting some of those targets that we wanted to hit about having important conversations with our local residents or our local users that aren't residents, and how the fees work and how our tax structure works and how it would be a benefit to have these other communities join the district. So I think it's like some of those triggers are being activated. This program is just a little bit unique because of the user group, because of the diverse set of users that it brings in, and because of some of the economic impacts of it, both internally and externally, as discussed. I think it's just worthy of being considered kind of different.
I think it sounds.
And there's always the fact that more people actually know how to swim.
Yes.
I mean, I think it seems reasonable. It's a carve out. It's a highly specialized program, and I think it seems reasonable. And if this sort of fits the bill, and you think this makes the people participating, that it fits what the need is,
We
Could
need
be,
the program, we need it.
Madam Chair,
yeah,
I will move option 2
great. Anybody want a
for
second?
the fee
I
schedule.
second that.
Okay, we've got a first, second. All in favor or opposed? Sue?
Aye.
Mike, aye. Kyle?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. All right. Fee structure 2.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for all the work you do to
No.
bring the excellent program. It's really impressive. The numbers are really impressive.
Yeah, maybe we can make maybe a appointment on the calendar in a few months' time, a quarter or two, and come back and discuss how participation has been impacted, if at all. So thanks,
Yeah.
Carolyn, for your help.
Hey, Skylar,
Yes.
just a side note, can you send a note to those people that complained and let them know what we did?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got some feedback from some folks as late as today or yesterday, so I'll try to send something out. Thanks, Kyle.
But I want them to know that we're sensitive to their concerns, and we listen to people when they come up with issues.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you.
All right, next, we're running a little bit behind. Some good conversation. So budget committee vacancy.
Oh, yeah, these will be brief, just wanted to make sure that the board was aware, we have one budget committee, position that is open. The only person that will not be coming back from the budget committee is, Jamie Bingham. The other 4 members all expressed a desire to continue. So, we have posted the vacancy in several places, we'll continue advertising it, set a deadline to receive notice of interest, by February 28th. Which is 4 weeks from this Friday, I believe. And we've also, I want to just note, we've tentatively set the budget committee, the first budget committee meeting. Last year we only had one, but at least the first one, set that date of April 15th, which is a Tuesday. I think it's the 3rd Tuesday of April, so a week before our regular board meeting. And that's flexible if there's conflicts or other challenges. But I would encourage the board, I know there's one board member who's been networking the budget committee vacancy really well, so appreciate that too. But if there's other people that you think would be good fits, please send them my way. All we need is a written notice that they are interested in the position. Email is at. And I would anticipate that we bring those candidates to the board to have a short interview like we've done in the past at our March meeting. Then the item D under new business was just wanted to make sure that the board, at least the 3 in-person attendees tonight, were aware of kind of the timing and some of the deadlines for the spring election cycle. So we have the directors in District 1, 2, and 3, Sue, Celeste, and Michael, all their terms are up for election. And so you have an opportunity to choose to continue on or run for election again. I probably shouldn't say on the record what I think you should do, but I would just say that I've really valued the continuity that the board has been able to maintain over the last few years. And I know we added Kyle, I think maybe about 2 years ago, if I remember right, but really enjoy working with each of you. So just make sure you have those dates noted if you intend to file for re-election. And if you don't, if you want to let me know, that's great, as we kind of do some planning and try to figure out what the board constitution will be, or if we'll be still rolling forward with the 5 that we have.
And can you remind us those dates?
Yes. Sorry, it's in the memo, but the first day for candidates to file is February 8th. And you have about a 6-week window.
That's a Saturday.
Until March 20th. And then there's another deadline for your candidate statements. If there is going to be a voter's pamphlet, I would expect that there is going to be. That's what the county has shared thus far. Usually that's kind of dependent on how many candidates there are up for election, but I think there's a number of special district elections. Ballots mailed on April 21st. May 20th is election day. The 3 directors' term will end on June 30th. And then at our July board meeting, which is tentatively set for the 22nd, we would swear in new or returning elected officials.
It's interesting that the 3 up for election are in this room.
Yeah. Not a coincidence. Probably a coincidence. Yeah. That's it for new business.
Okay, moving on to executive director report.
Great. Okay, so I wanted to, this isn't a chart or a graph, but I wanted to provide something tangible. And Kyle, sorry that I don't have this to email to you right now, but I will share it with you tomorrow. Just progress that we've made as a staff and on some of the key results or goals. So my updates are in bold, but some of these areas I think have been, they've been slow progress. There's been a lot going on with the occupancy challenge and some other things, but I think there's been some good progress. I wanted to highlight a couple of those key results that I think are worth mentioning. So one of them is Objective 3, Key Result B, the website usability analysis. So since our November meeting, when we got the prompting, I think, from the board that they would like us to proceed with the website. It's some website analysis and a redesign, and a design that was not only complied with laws and regulations in terms of accessibility, but also improved the mobile usability of our website. We have since conducted some analysis and assessed that regarding our current site. We've met with a few providers to discuss, and we've selected one of the providers and signed a contract with them, with ScivicRec. It's a website platform that does a lot of government websites. They also are the providers of our point-of-sale software. So we've signed a contract for them to provide our website redesign and also provide a mass notification system for our users. So right now we have a notification system that is parsed out into a couple different softwares, one for text and one for emails, and it's kind of a little bit challenging, so this will unify that. ScivicRec provides a lot of government agencies. They recently did the City of Seaside's website redesign, so we're really pleased about that. And we have a timeline with them to roll out our new website sometime in hopefully July or August of 2025. But we're already at work. I think if the board has design features or elements that they want to be considered, I know we have some great people with an eye for that thing on the board or with experience. If they can let us know, that would be great, and we can try to incorporate that. We do get some autonomy, I guess, or some decision-making in how the website looks and the features that it has, and other design elements. The other thing I just wanted to share is that we have a yearly complete drafted staff survey to gauge staff satisfaction, and so that will be probably sent out, if not within the next couple days, certainly within the next week. And I'm not sure if the board wants some of that results, or how the board wants transparency or communication regarding that, but I think maybe there's a way for us to convey some of those results that we get in an appropriate way for the board. I know that was a priority. There's some other updates on here. I'll let you kind of look at them, but I'm really pleased with the effort that we've been taking, and would just say, again, even though I think they're executive director goals or key results, they're really team goals, and I'm trying to get as many of them done as possible and doing really well. But I need the help of my team, and they've been awesome, and just helping us get them, and we talk and share them regularly as part of our executive team and management meetings. Item B, so as I shared, we're really bittersweet, sad, and happy for him, but we're losing Justin Smith, our Director of Programs. He was offered and accepted the position of the Executive Director for the North County Recreation District in Nehalem, and that's the Park and Rec District that serves North County, North Tillamook County. So he's just moving down the road, 30 or so minutes, and I think he's still going to be an SEPRD president, which is great. Justin's been with the district for almost 10 years and has grown into several different roles, but has been a really wonderful coworker to have, and someone that has brought energy and enthusiasm and professionalism to all of our interactions. So we will miss him, but super happy for his opportunity to advance to be a director. We have opened the position internally, so we have, I think, some internal candidates that would be really good fits, and we'll see if they apply, and they'll go through a process, a selection process. And if we feel like it would be in the best interest of the district to open the position externally, then we'll do that after we review the internal applicants. But excited for Justin and for the opportunity. I think change, even though it's hard, is sometimes a really good thing for organizations. So.
I am curious about the decision to open internally first, like, as opposed to like opening up to all and giving specific consideration to internal candidates.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about what has been our experience and why we take that strategy.
I think there's two things that motivated us to go that route. One is that when we have open high-level management or director-type positions in the past, it's difficult for us to get applicants, serious applications from outside the area because of the cost of living here in Seaside. It's hard to recruit a candidate that maybe looking for some upward mobility and, but, works in Beaverton or in Bend or something. I guess those aren't great examples, since the high cost of living there in most places too, but I think you understand, it's difficult to convince people unless they have a connection to the coast to move out here for lots of different reasons. And you guys are familiar with the dynamic out here, the lack of housing, just being a little bit more remote, having some perceptions about what's available out here that you might be, maybe you trade certain comforts and amenities that you might have in a more metro area for, other things that maybe sound really wonderful, but are just hard to recruit people. So that was one reason. The other reason is I think we have Justin supervises 3 full-time recreation staff are under his supervision, and I think they're all, candidly, they're all interested and would be good candidates for this position. And I think the opportunity to promote upward mobility in our organization and give folks an opportunity to grow into those roles, I think is really something that's appealing to me as a manager or as a director. I think those are opportunities that were sometimes afforded to me in my previous stops in my career. Those are things that I try to give opportunities for our staff to grow into as well.
Well, I'll just say that my history with the hospital, internal options were always first for applying to a position before they went outside.
Thanks.
Some upcoming opportunities, these will be brief. We have Special Districts Conference coming up in just a couple of, next week. And we have, I'll be there for one day, a day and a half-ish, and Haley, our HR admin manager, is going for the whole time, which is awesome. I noted the February board meeting date, the day after our February board meeting. I know our board, you all have participated in our fascination tournament, which is on Wednesday the 26th, as part of a fundraising effort to continue the Bob Chisholm Community Center Refresh Project. So if you all want to head on down to Fultanos and roll some fascination and see if you can win a prize or two.
January 26th?
No, February 26th. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Our family dance is coming up. Typically, we've offered that in the January to February timeline, but this year we're moving it back a couple of weeks and giving it a new theme called Let's Glow Crazy. So it'll be kind of a glow dance kind of theme. And as you probably may remember, we've had diminished participation since we created a family dance environment. Before, it was a very popular special event when it was the daddy-daughter dance, but transitioning it to a more inclusive family dance has been great, but for whatever reason, maybe unrelated to the name change, perhaps, we've just had some diminished participation. So changing up the theme to give it a new, fresh look, and hopefully we'll have some great participation numbers. For that, our March board meeting and that proposed budget committee meeting date are noted. And then, I know she is not here, but Catherine had asked me to include an executive session, and I'm assuming that the board would do that, but that was, I think, to initiate the performance review process for my position. So, that's it for my report. Just appreciate Isaiah for staying, and Darren, I guess, did leave, and Carolyn for her help. I can't, I really enjoy working with Carolyn. She's a very special set of talents and skills that we have to offer to our patrons and to the community. And working with her on this project to put some of this information together was challenging and fun for both of us, and I hope, or at least for me. So, and thanks for staying around, Carolyn, for the meeting.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler. And so, as I understand, because Catherine's not here, are we not holding the executive session?
She didn't share that with me. I think it's up to the board if they, from what I understand, you all were just going to discuss what your process was going to be and the timing. If you want to wait and do that when she is here at the February meeting, that's fine.
I move we amend the agenda to eliminate the executive session.
Okay, sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
Aye.
Great, okay, amended, and I will have,
Second.
and I will,
I'll second that.
oh, Kyle seconded,
Thank you,
okay.
Kyle.
And I will tell you that she sent by text that she wanted to let directors know that she'll be sending everyone a copy of the executive director review, and will be sending staff a 360 review. Skylar will provide his year in review, and then we'll discuss at executive session next meeting. That's the plan. Okay?
Sounds good. Maybe you ought to get Justin Smith to fill out one before he leaves. Oh, boy.
All right, with that, I think that takes us to the last item on our agenda, which is board comments. So I will start with you, Kyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really, I know it's not as fast or as cheap or as clean as we'd like, but I appreciate the fact that our consultants came back, they listened. The document is much better than it was before, and no, it's not final yet, but it's a lot better than it was before, and we'll get there. Carolyn, I don't know what to say about Carolyn. She's awesome, and I appreciate the fact that she brought issue of concern to the district. We evaluated it, discussed it, and made a decision, and that's how it's supposed to work. If you have a problem, bring it to the board, and we'll deliberate on it, and it worked just like it should. Finally, our employee of the month. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Jay. Awesome. Appreciate Jay's being here. Thank you. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Kyle. Sue?
So it's almost 8:15, and so we're 3 hours in, and I am freezing. Let me just.
11:15, Sue.
Oh, my gosh, well, good for you. Well, I have a dog at home. So, you know, the list of appreciation is pretty long. So, yes, Jay, and I hope I didn't scare him away by saying, I hope to see you tonight, you know, because we'd like to honor you. Anyway, so I appreciate Jay. I appreciate our audit. Chris, correct? His name is Chris?
The guy on the screen, that was Rick.
Rick.
Chris
Okay.
is, yeah.
Rick, I appreciate that, he spent the time going through, some of the pages, because that was a lot to sift through. But anyway, yay to, Sunset Empire and, the team that we have a clean audit again. That's always, appreciated. And then, basically Darren is just worth his weight in gold. I'm grateful he's still here, and grateful for a 70% success rate for grants. You know, what an amazing person, and grateful to have him here. Our strategic plan, it is better, and I'm grateful that Chris was here for that. And I mean, it's leaps and bounds better than what it was. But there's still some areas that I think need to be addressed, and I think I agree that a work session would be really helpful so we can bring that home and get it done. Carolyn, just always appreciate you. I'm able to watch her work. I've talked to Skylar before. I'm able to watch her work with the little kids and teach them how not to be afraid of the water. I've seen her work with, you know, the kids that are looking to improve their times. You know, 5 kids to zones last year. I don't know how many this year, but anyway, I'm just grateful for her expertise. And one of my, you know, everyone on this board has heard me say, every complaint is a gift. So thank you for bringing your concern to us, because that's what we're here for, to listen to, you know, we implemented something and we want to hear wait, there's a bump in the road. So I appreciate you doing, because that was a lot of work for you to do, so thank you. And continued success. It's a pleasure. And this morning I heard you, you know, whatever I was doing at the pool for 9 o'clock, I was like, I can count on her stroke. to be a slap but with the fin. I don't know, that's Carolyn, and it was very sweet and reassuring. So I definitely see every reason for you, for us to keep you happy, and just grateful for you being here. As far as the city, I mean, and I realize, this is a lot of detail. I appreciate the response that the team came together in the meeting that we had, and, I appreciate that we banded together. We were agreeable to get together to discuss an important issue, and I just hope that, the suggestions that we do, because everything we have done has been so open book, transparent, because we want people to know that this is a good, system, working with our board and working with, the group. Thank you, Skylar. And so it's just a matter of getting the city to see or appreciate what we're doing. And I think the conversation, the response, at least starts to build a bridge. Because we want to collaborate, and I hope there can be a positive step forward, especially with the 3 people that signed that first letter. Because I appreciate that the second letter came from a 4th person, but I'd kind of like to make sure that those 3 people are satisfied. And so I'm just, in deciding whether I'm gonna, do this again. It's been quite a learning curve and a real honor to be part of this, this group and this board. And I haven't decided what I'm gonna do, because I have a new grandson, but he's not that far away now. So anyway, there's a lot to think about, but I am grateful for my position. I am grateful for the pool being as good as it is, and I continue to appreciate having a way to play. Thank you.
Sue? Mike?
I can't top anything you said, Sue. I can't trump it at all, but, I'm so grateful for the great employees that our district enjoys, and I'm gonna miss Justin Smith. I think he's done an outstanding job. If you were to tell me we were gonna, lose Carolyn and Justin, if you said that in the same breath, I think I'd fall over. But, at least Justin will be down in Nehalem with our friends at the relatively new recreation district, which we helped create. Mary Blake was involved with helping them form that district. Anyway, and Darren, we just got great employees. I just hope that people continue to be healthy and happy in their jobs. And grandmothers can be on boards too, as well as grandfathers. Anyway, we've got a lot of unfinished business yet, and we've got to. I think we need to crack the whip and get the SRC together as best we can and as efficiently as we can. So I'll throw my body down anytime. I'm a little concerned about the political climate in the nation and what that means to the Hispanic community that we have around us. I understand we're losing the, Consejo Hispano, and I understand some of the reasons for that. And there's a lot of fear in the community around that, immigration, and, I don't know what's gonna happen, but, I'm gonna try and stay in touch with that and advocate for my community. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I'm just looking at this agenda and reflecting on, one of the things I'm really grateful for is, I think this board has become really strategic, and I see the movement in staff too, to be making strategic decisions and making decisions about how we improve our programming in ways that are based on data and hearing from the community, and I just think that's so excellent. And so I'm really proud of that, and appreciative of the board for how much work we put into to getting us there, but Skylar, particularly to you and to your team for all the work that you guys do to bring it to fruition, because even if we're trying to lay out some vision for some of this stuff, I think that your team is the one bringing it to fruition, and so really appreciative of that. And I think we've made great progress, still have a ways to go, but we're making great progress, so that's what counts. So thanks, everyone, and with that, our meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Celeste.
Thank you.